meeting of the Bell Garden City Council and successor agency. Okay. We just came back from closed session. If there's no objection by the city council, I will now adjourn the closed session at 6:30.
Mayor, if I may report out first.
Yes, of course.
So just for the record, we are reconvening at 6:28. Mayor, members of the city council is now back in open session, having met in closed session to discuss the two items listed on the agenda. As to item number 1, as a result of the city manager Michael Kelly's resignation, the city council by a vote of 5-0 has appointed Manuel Acosta in the capacity of acting city manager effective as of June 7, 2026, while the city conducts a recruitment. The terms of the compensation are prescribed by the terms set forth in the City Employees Association Memorandum of Understanding Agreement, which is afforded to non-represented employees as prescribed in City Council Resolution number 2024-2025. As to item number 2, staff provided a report, but no reportable action was taken. This concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, City Attorney. At this point, we'll now call the Bell Garden City Council successor agency to the Community Development Commission to order. The meeting will now come to order at 6:30 p.m. Members of the public. And at this point now, we'll officially adjourn the closed session meeting at 6:30 p.m. And we will then commence the City Council successor agency to the Community Development Commission meeting at 6:30 p.m. And members of the public may view and listen to this meeting live online through the city's website as noted on the agenda. If any members of the public or from City Council should have a conflict of interest, please announce any item you're recusing yourself from due to a conflict of interest prior to the item being heard. Tonight's invocation will be given by Pastor Leal, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Cameron Vargas of Girl Scout Troop 2543.
Good evening, Mayor, and all the rest of the councilmen and the councilwomen, our attorney, our chief, and the rest of the staff. It's so nice to be here and see each one of you. Today I was thinking about this meeting. The Lord gave me the words of the psalmist Moses. Moses lived a very interesting life in 3 parts: 40, 40, and 40. 40 thinking he was an Egyptian. 40 being in the desert, all practically, away from all the bustle and hustle of a big city. And then the next 40 years he spent them leading the children of Israel. And he wrote in Psalms 90, and he says, Lord, you have been our refuge. You have been our place, a refuge from generation to generation. I just like to remind you that things change, society changes. We have now technology and so much things, but let us just remember that we have a God that doesn't change, and He continue to be our place of refuge. So let us call upon Him. Let us pray. And before we pray, I think I heard that Mr. Kelly's leaving. We're gonna miss you. You've been such a nice person and an excellent. You have done an excellent job, and as a pastor and as a member of our community, I thank you. I thank you for all the work you have done. May God continue to lead you wherever you go, keep you safe, your family, and prosper you in anything that you do. So let us come to our feet and remember that as we pray, we bow our heads because we come into the presence of God. Mighty God, we want to thank you for our city, for our leaders, for each one of the employees. Father, thank you for being with us. Thank you for being a place of refuge. Thank you for being a place where we can run to. Father, we know we're not by ourselves. You are with us. And Father, we want to give you this meeting. May you guide our leaders. May you be with them, Father, that everything that takes place tonight will be for your glory and for the benefit of each one of the citizens and of our leaders also, Father. We put them in your hands. We ask this in the precious name of Jesus. And can we say amen? Thank you.
Face the flag. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may now be seated.
City Clerk, will you please conduct a roll call of the members of the City Council?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Members of the Council and Successor Agency, Barsana. Councilmember Chavez.
Present.
Councilwoman Sanchez.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Guillen.
Present.
Mayor de la Rosa.
Present. And now we will move over to presentations. City Manager, please announce the upcoming presentations.
Thank you, Mayor De La Rosa. The first item is a certificate of recognition for Las Pavas Restaurant. If Las Pavas representative could come to the podium, please. Thank you, Mayor.
Hola, buenas tardes y bienvenido a nuestra Junta del Concilio. Tuve el placer de platicar con Ana, la gerente de Las Pavas Restaurant, y es una persona muy amable.
She's a
y
very nice
habló mucho
person.
del negocio de Las
She
Pavas, y
spoke a lot about
siempre cuando
the
voy
business,
rumbo
Las Pavas.
al freeway, el 710, tomo la calle Florence Place y
When
ahí veo Las
When I
Pavas
come, I'm on the
Restaurant.
710 and I get off
Y
on Florence and I
queremos darle
always
este
see the restaurant.
reconocimiento
We
por
want to give you
los sabores
this
auténticos
recognition
la
for
diversidad que su
the
restaurante brinda a nuestra comunidad.
authentic
Así que en un
flavors
momento voy a leer
and the
lo que
diversity of
menciona
your cuisine.
el certificado
And I'm going to
y en
read
un
the
momento
certificate,
tendremos unas palabras de nuestros miembros del concilio y usted
and
también tendrá
then
unas
we'll
palabras
let the
de
council
conclusión.
members
¿Ok?
give
Gracias a usted.
some words. Thank you.
Dice, the Bell Garden City Council proudly recognizes Las Pavas Restaurant for sharing the authentic flavors of El Salvador with our community. As you celebrate your third year, we thank you not only for bringing such delicious and flavorful dishes, but also creating such a warm and welcoming place. Your kindness and hospitality have truly made a lasting impact. You have become a beloved restaurant in Bell Gardens, and we wish you many more years of success, growth, and prosperity. Thank you.
Eso es todo sin Argentina.
Bueno, de mi parte, pues creo que nos involucramos
I
en un negocio
believe that we got involved in this
comida que es
business,
bastante difícil y hemos
the food
tenido
business, which is
buen
pretty difficult,
reconocimiento de parte de la comunidad.
but the
como
community has
de
received us
bienvenida,
very
nos han apoyado
well.
mucho y
They
eso
welcomed us and they've
creo
really
que
supported
la
us.
gente alrededor ha reconocido que la comida pues tiene
I feel that the
un
people
buen
around us
sabor y
have
nos ha apoyado en todo
recognized the fact that
movimiento y nos siguen apoyando.
the
Así
food
que
tastes good and they have
sea
continued
continuo
supporting
todo
us, and we hope that this
esto,
continues.
pues no creo que es para mí, las muchachas ni me dijeron,
I
nomás me
don't
dijeron que
I don't
viniera acá.
feel like this is
Eso
for
más bien es
me.
de ellas.
They
Ellas son las que
They
trabajan
just told
duro
me to be
para
here. I
que
didn't
todo
even know
salga
this
bien
was
en la
happening,
cocina.
but really it's for the
Pero de
girls
parte,
in
de parte de ellas,
the
pues,
kitchen and
gracias.
everything they do. But
Me satisface estar recibiendo
on my part
de
and
parte
on
de
behalf
ustedes.
of everyone
Muchas
else,
gracias.
Gracias a ustedes
we
y
appreciate and we
felicidades. Y en
thank you
un
for this
momento, pues,
recognition.
tendremos la oportunidad
Okay.
de que nuestros miembros del
In a
concilio también
moment,
nos
we'll
digan unas
have
palabras, pero yo personalmente
uh,
probé la
I
pupusa de queso con loroco y
I
estaba
have
deliciosa.
tried the
Sí.
cheese and
Bueno,
loroco
pues ahí
pupusa and
estamos
it's
siempre
really
para
good.
servirles
Well, we're
en lo que
there,
podamos estar a la
ready
orden.
to serve you
Toda la comunidad,
anytime.
ustedes también.
You and the
Gracias.
whole community and all of you
Gracias.
as well.
Any words
Thank you.
from, fellow council members?
Solamente para reconocer que
I just
su
want to
restaurante es de los
recognize
favoritos aquí en
that
Bell
your
Gardens.
restaurant is one of
Acabo de
the
ir
favorites here. I just
por primera
went
vez hace como un mes y
for the
pues la
first
verdad
time about a
sí
month ago,
entiendo por qué les está yendo bien. Yo sé que
and
está
now I
batallando, pero
understand
la verdad
why
lo que yo oigo de los
why
vecinos
it's going
y de la
well
comunidad
for
es de
you.
que es un lugar
I had been hearing for a long time
Entonces,
that
me
it's
da
a
gusto que son
special
parte de
place,
nuestra comunidad de
and I'm
negocios
so glad that
y
you
pues por ahí
are
me van a
part of our
ver
business
porque
community.
ya nomás de estar viendo a los vecinos ahí en cuanto entro veo cosas que se me antojan, entonces
And every
voy a
time
regresar a
I
probar
go
todo
in
lo que
now,
encuentre.
I'm going to go back and try
Gracias,
everything.
la verdad, pues es un
Thank you very
placer
much.
estar escuchando esto y pues
It's really a pleasure to hear this. So thank you again. First of all, congratulations on this recognition. Thank you for being part of the community. I remember when that business was a pizza place, Mazzo Pizzeria. And then the pandemic hit and there's so much competition, especially for pizzerias. So I'm really glad that Las Pavas has stuck, has really done well. And we thank you for your time, your dedication, and the same to all of your employees who work there. So we are happy to give you this recognition, and we hope to have you many more years in the community. Thank you. Thank you.
Una pregunta. He
One
visto que
question.
hacen papas
I've
fritas
seen
y
that
le
you
ponen una salsa como
like
blanca. ¿Qué es lo que
fried
ponen?
potatoes or French fries,
Oh, man. Okay. Solamente tenía la
and you
curiosidad
put like a
porque es la
white
primera vez que
sauce
lo
on
veo,
it.
pero
Como bueno, dicen botana, ¿no?
It's just a
salvadoreño,
condiment.
como
It's a
si comer algo diferente. Si va a un
it's a
parque, se
Salvadoran
encuentra con este tipo de comida.
condiment, so it's something a little
Cualquiera puede
different
agarrar en
from
una-
what people are
en
used
un
to here.
parque, en cualquier lugar.
But there
Pero
you
hay que echarle
find it
pico,
anywhere in a
mayonesa y
park.
queso.
okay,
So
con queso
it's
también. Ese
mayonnaise and
es
cheese.
diferente porque
Okay, that
la
is
verdad yo
different.
nunca he probado, pero cuando lo
I
vi
had
dije, eso
never
una a la otra.
tried that,
Sí,
but
Bueno, gracias.
then I
sí.
realized that was really good.
Entonces ahorita en un
All right,
momento
thank you.
pasaremos aquí enfrente, tomamos una
And
foto con su.
now we'll come down here in front and take a picture with you.
City Manager, will you please announce the following item?
Yes, thank you, Mayor De La Rosa. These next three items, we get to recognize some of our staff members here in our groups within the City of Bell Gardens. The first item we have is a proclamation for Building and Safety Month. And if I could ask the Community Development Director, soon to be acting City Manager Manny Acosta, maybe to say a few words before we move forward. I think that's okay, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, Manuel Acosta, Community Development Director. Thank you for this recognition for Building and Safety Month. On behalf of the Community Development Department and our Building and Safety staff, we appreciate the proclamation and the council's continued support. Building and safety plays an important role in protecting our residents, businesses, and community by ensuring construction is completed safely and in compliance with the state and local codes. I also want to recognize our staff for their hard work, professionalism, and commitment to public service. Thank you again for recognizing and supporting the important work our building and safety staff does behind the scenes on an everyday basis. Today, we have our building official, Mark Bergs, and building inspector, Jesse Barraza, to accept this proclamation. They're one of the team members on behalf of the department. Thank you.
So to read the proclamation for Building and Safety Month, Whereas during Building and Safety Month, we recognize the role of high-quality building standards and the code officials and developers who take into account the safety and economic value of our homes, buildings, and infrastructure. And whereas building and safety professionals are key to the community's resilience in the face of challenges caused by natural disasters such as earthquakes, fires, pandemics, and more. Whereas in coordination with California's state agency that implemented the California Building Standards Code, Title 24 California Code of Regulations, building safety professionals work year-round to ensure the safety of Bell Gardens built environment. And whereas building and safety professionals ensure our buildings are constructed using an energy efficient, climate resilient, and substantial framework that meets the needs of the community today and as well as future generations. And whereas the International Code Council has adopted the theme, Building Safety Starts With You, for this year's 46th Building and Safety Month, with the idea of providing an educational and interactive campaign to raise awareness about the importance of building codes and ensuring safety in the spaces we live, work, play, and learn. Now, therefore, it be resolved that Miguel de la Rosa, Mayor of the City of Bell Gardens, together with the City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of May as the 46th Annual Building and Safety Month in Bell Gardens, California, to honor the building and safety staff who provide service to our residents and visitors. Proclaim this 11th day of May, signed by our mayor and the entire City Council.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much to the wonderful team for ensuring that not only our public spaces, but homes and businesses, have the right regulations, right? And making sure that everything's in clear order and regulation. So thank you so much again for all the hard work that's done all across the department. I'll now open the floor for any comments from fellow council members.
I just want to say thank you for all your hard work. I know your job's not easy, but you guys do an outstanding job. So thank you so much.
Thank you guys for your work and involvement in the city. We appreciate you.
Yeah, likewise on my end. I feel like sometimes when we're up here, we're like, wait, so who's gonna speak next? And my apologies on that. No, on my end, look, I think building and safety it's not an easy thing, and there's consistently new things that are coming down the state and new regulations and updates. So it's something that consistently have to learn, right? And new adaptations. So I want to say that to when my colleagues have said, it's not an easy thing. And really appreciate all the work and the recognition that you all deserve. So again, thank you again.
And I think it's important to note the theme of this year, building safety starts with you. I think that starts with everybody, right? Unfortunately, you guys have the difficult job of making sure that the spaces where we live, work, play, and learn are secure. And so being able to ensure that our buildings are safe is top priority. So thank you so much for all the hard work that you do.
Thank you so much. And at this point, we'll move forward and receive the proclamation. So much. City Manager, will you please announce the next presentation item?
Yes, thanks again, Mayor De La Rosa. This next item is a proclamation for National Police Week. If it's okay with the mayor, I ask the police chief, Paul Camacho, to say a few words. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Mayor and Mayor Pro Tem and members of the City Council, thank you very much for taking the time to recognize the men and women of the Bell Gardens Police Department. This is probably one of the most important weeks for law enforcement because it gives us the opportunity to really participate in certain events throughout the county and state and up in DC where the memorial wall is at. And so it reminds us of the really of everything that we put forward with this profession. So your support means a lot to us, and I could honestly say that I've been here coming up on 23 years, and I would say that, and I'm not looking for any promotion, so I'm just saying that you guys are probably some of the best council members that I have worked for, and we see it at the department. I think you guys have supported us with the resources and really getting us the tools that we need to do the best job that we can. And we share that same philosophy with you guys. You guys want the best for the community, and so do we. And I could honestly tell you, and I think our mayor could be a witness to this. The men and women that show up every day are really a representation of our residents here. A lot of them grew up here. A lot of them were former explorers, and they understand the community and they know the community. So I'm accepting this on behalf of their hard work because it's really boots on the ground and them coming to work every day that make my job easier and really just represent you guys out there on every call for service. So we appreciate everything you guys do for us, and in return, we pay it forward by providing the best service that we can to the community. So thank you very much. If I may, so the reason why you guys don't see officers here is because the calls for service are demanding right now. It's just a busy day and everybody's out there handling calls for service.
Thank you, Chief.
Sure.
Thank you so much for your leadership, and from the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much to the men and women from the Bell Gardens Police Department who serve day by day, addressing the concerns from our residents, and they do so with great passion and love for care. Thank you so much again, and I'll also pass it on for any comment from my fellow colleagues.
Yeah, I'll jump in on this. I want to say thank you so much, Chief, for really leading this department, right? I've had the pleasure of last year, I think it was last year or 2024, January. I think that was one of the many privileges that I got as mayor to serve you, to swear you in as our new chief. And I'll tell you that you've done an exceptional job. I think our department knows it. I think everyone here and staff, our city manager as well, we know the incredible progress that's been made here in our department. Whether it's Neighborhood Watch program, whether it's the Explorers, and I mean, just this weekend, right? There was something that was floating around that, there was a biking issue with some teenagers or something. And to the officer's point, that I really enjoyed the response that when you call, we're going to respond, right? And I can't tell you how important that is to us, that when folks in our city, when our residents need help, whether that be from a noise concern or something as simple as, parking, in the odd hours of the night, our police department responds. So I just want to say thank you for your service and thank you for leading this incredible department. And know that you have all of our support. Thank you.
Just want to thank you, Chief, and the police department for being there for our residents, and personally being there for me. I've worked with other chiefs in the past, and I can tell you that I'm just very happy that you're here today. And I think you're setting an example for the rest of the police department. I always feel like you're there to listen and try to find a solution to the issues that we encounter on a daily basis. So I appreciate your responsiveness. I appreciate your commitment to the community. And thank you. Thank you for everything that you guys do over there.
I think you and the department have one of the toughest jobs. You know, you don't know if you're going to go home sometimes. And I think the fact that the turmoil that has gone on the last 2 years, having to deal with law enforcement has been challenging. But I think you leading the department and the way the department has displayed themselves to our community is something that honestly, like, there's no gratitude more that I can praise you guys because you've done such an amazing job. So to the men and women of the Bell Gardens Police Department, especially you, Chief, thank you so much.
To highlight the sentiment, thank you. It means a lot. You know, you're a man of faith, and it shows the way that you lead, the way that you show up for the community. And I mean, it's a little personal, but my dad's 1 year is coming up on Sunday. And the way you guys showed up that day, I'll never forget. So, thank you. So I'll read the proclamation now. Whereas in the city of Bell Gardens and across the nation, the courageous men and women who protect our citizenry wear the uniform and badge with pride as they safeguard our families, home, and communities. And whereas on Peace Officers Memorial Day and National Police Week, we honor the memory of those heroes who have fallen in the line of duty and recognize all those who put themselves at risk in the fight against crime, violence, and terrorism. And whereas more than 800,000 men and women serve as officers of the law in the United States in varying capacities, to include 48 members of the Bell Gardens Police Department, and share the fundamental qualities of discipline, integrity, and courage. We are grateful to them and their families for all they do to strengthen our communities. And whereas on Peace Officers Memorial Day, we pause to remember those who have made the ultimate sacrifice and honor their memory. And whereas during National Police Week and throughout the year, we urge all Bell Gardens residents to support law enforcement officers in the fight against crime, especially those dedicated to the safety of our community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Miguel de la Rosa, Mayor of the City of Bell Gardens, with the City Council, do hereby proclaim May 15th, 2026 as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and May 11th through 17th as National Police Week in the City of Bell Gardens, and encourage the citizens of Bell Gardens to extend appreciation to our police officers for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the Bell Gardens community. Signed by Mayor Miguel de la Rosa.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. At this point, we'll hand over the proclamation. Get a photo with you. City Manager, will you please announce the next presentation item?
Thanks again, Mayor De La Rosa. This next item is a proclamation recognizing National Public Works Week. If it's okay with the mayor, I'll ask the Public Works Director, Bernie Iniguez, to say a few words. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. O'Kelly. Good evening, honorable mayor and members of council. So at this point, I'm gonna ask some of my public works staff to come up here. I have maintenance workers, Eddie Enriquez and Gustavo Lopez, senior management analyst, Natalie Rivera Estrada, and Parks and Facilities Supervisor, Alfred Owen. So if you guys can come up here. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with the theme for this year's Public Works Week. This year's theme is Rooted in Service, Powered by Community. which acknowledges that the roots of service run deep in public works. It's what has propelled public works innovations that have helped our communities evolve into places where people can lead lives of purpose and possibility. Some work, like building roads and bridges, is highly visible, while other public works contributions, such as maintaining water and sewer systems, are sometimes hidden from view. Together, these efforts form the foundation of thriving communities, reminding us that every project, seen or unseen, powers a connection between service and the people it supports. So with that, I have not been here 23 years like the chief. I've actually been here 3 years. And I can say that in those 3 years, the amazing staff that I have, the men and women of the Public Works Department, have transformed this community that I grew up in. So it's been an extremely proud moment for me for the time that I've been here. But it is not possible without the maintenance workers that are out there, not just delivering the multi-million-dollar aquatics center projects that we see, but the daily grind, removal of graffiti, addressing potholes, in unison between the capital improvement projects that we undertake and those small activities is what keeps this community going through the infrastructure that we maintain. So with that, again, I'm extremely proud of the staff that I have under me, and the commitment that they have shows in the work product that the department has been able to deliver. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Bernie, and thank you to everyone in the Public Works Department who maintain the essential infrastructure on a day-to-day basis, ranging from the water systems, our beautiful parks, the aquatic center, to our streets, you name it. The Public Works Department is always there, con manos a la obra, and it's admirable. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much to everyone, and it's very appreciated. Thank you. I'll now pass it on to my fellow colleagues for any comments.
Just thank you for all your hard work. I know maybe the public doesn't see you, but we see you and we know you're there. You guys are here holidays, throughout every break. You guys are always here. So thank you so much, and may God bless you.
Just want to thank you guys for all of the work that you do in Public Works. And I want to make a remark about how important your department is. Every department is important, of course, but I want to see what happens if someone hires the wrong director for Public Works. We're going to have toilets exploding and funny things going on. Maybe I don't know. It's just not a good thing to happen, and maybe some people have seen it happen in other cities in the past, and it's just not a good recipe for success. But you guys are lucky that you have a good leader in your department. We're lucky to have you guys be part of the Public Works Department. You guys are hard workers, responsible. We really appreciate you. When I'm out there looking at our parks, looking at our streets, I know that there's someone behind that cleanliness that I see, and it's you guys, the hard workers that are in the front line. So we really appreciate you, and we hope that you continue to make Bell Gardens your home and your workplace. Thank you.
On my end, I'd also like to echo, Public Works is not an easy job, y'all. It is a tough job, especially on those hot days out there. I've had the opportunity, whether it's seeing you guys put the speed bumps that now, that's something that we've taken, or the bulky pickup thing, right? I think and correct me if I'm wrong, City Manager, I think I have the record for most bulky item pickup. Maybe Hylas knows the exact number, but I literally, I think at one point I submitted like 25 in one day, because I went through a stroll or I'm riding my scooter, and within 24 hours they're gone, right? And that's a task. I've seen your guys and gals, really go out and about and kick butt in this department. So I really, really appreciate all the work that's being done. And at the same time, I think about what's coming in the future, right? We got big projects, right? We got the Big T project that's going to come on Garfield and in Eastern. So that's going to be a huge project that we're going to be doing. And, I know Bernie already mentioned the Aquatic Center, but that's a huge jewel that you all played a role in. right? And just to really appreciate all the work that you all do. It's not easy, but know that it does not go unnoticed. I mean, the collaboration that we have with our police department, right? When we go out on the riverbed, that's and we're doing the county's job. The county needs to be able to step up and deliver. I think a good idea would probably be to send the county the invoice, right? So they can for both departments, right? So again, your work does not go unnoticed. And earlier, I think maybe last year, that was one of the things where it was a huge thing for me about the freeways, right? Even though Caltrans oversees that, by the time either CHP rolls up or Caltrans comes out to do it, I mean it's gone out of control. And again, it's been your department that's had to step up and support in those efforts. So again, the center meeting, I mean, I can go on and on and on. Again, thank you so much for your incredible work. It does not go unnoticed. I really, really appreciate all the work that y'all do. Thank you.
Public Works is one of the few departments that works all the time, right? Holidays, weekends, things of that nature. I know when I'm here on weekends, I see a lot of you guys here, in the building. Also, though, hearing the growth of the department in the sense of like, my guys can take care of that. Well, what do you mean? We don't have to contract out to do that job? No, my guys could do it or they want to learn how to do it. So Bernie, I commend you as well for having that leadership of having the department continue to grow and learn different things and the excitement that they want to do it as well. So thank you so much for all your hard work.
Thank you very much. And at this point, we'll go ahead and read the proclamation and then take a photo all together, okay?
All right, this is a City of Bell Gardens proclamation in recognition of National Public Works Week. And it says, Public Works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of the City of Bell Gardens. These infrastructures facilitate services that could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of our public works professionals, who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector, who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supplies, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. It is in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children in the City of Bell Gardens to gain knowledge and maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities. The efficiency of the qualified and dedicated personnel who staff public works departments is materially influenced by the people's attitude and understanding of the importance of the work they perform. Now, therefore, be it resolved that our Mayor, Miguel de la Rosa, and the City Council do hereby proclaim the week of May 17th through May 23rd, 2026 as National Public Works Week in the City of Bell Gardens. And I call upon all citizens and civic organizations to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protect our health, safety, comfort, and quality of life. Proclaimed this 11th day of May 2026 and signed by Miguel de la Rosa, our mayor.
Thank you so much. And let's go ahead and take a photo. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. We will now move to public participation for items not listed on the agenda. Public participation is now open. City Clerk, will you please announce the instructions for public participation?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Members of the public will now have an opportunity to speak on items not listed on the agenda. Please state your name for the record. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes, subject to a overall 30-minute period. Callers wishing to speak may do so at this time by dialing *9 from your phone, and when instructed, dial *6 to unmute yourself. Individuals joining through Zoom may request to speak by using the raise hand feature and select the unmute or the microphone icon when instructed. We will first begin to hear from those that are in person. We didn't receive any written communications.
Thank you, City Clerk. We do have a public comment card for non-agenda items only for Mr. Edwin Gonzalez.
Buenas noches, mucho gusto en volver a verlos. Tonight, I want to give my input pertaining to the few meetings I've attended and the impression this council has had on me. First of all, thank you for listening to my comments and thank you for giving me more insight on the goals that Bell Gardens is trying to accomplish. You've had to ponder some tough issues and engage one another in deliberating those issues that sometimes bring people together and sometimes they may just drive us further apart. One such issue has been the extension of the flock safety program. Having that surveillance to assist law enforcement is still a very controversial topic. LAPD just got sued for its flock apparatus by a watchdog organization, and so one is left wondering where all this will eventually lead, including the cities of Southeast Los Angeles, a large urban sprawl consisting of many cities and many jurisdictions. Taking a vote as a public official on that matter is a predicament in itself because no community leader wants to jeopardize public safety. Police departments have advocated and pleaded with community leaders to implement flock and thus have seen its immediate impact. Yet it has many residents on edge and subsequently people will continue to be outspoken against flock and their alleged complicity in those harsh immigration crackdowns. However, one cannot deny the essential difference it could make in solving a crime. Take, for example, May 1st in the city of Bell, following the murder of a 15-year-old boy. The prime suspect was found in the city of Southgate and taken into custody that night, and I was told by the current Bell chief of police that having flock makes police investigations much more effective in tracking vehicles and finding dangerous fugitives. Despite the concerns, I believe community leaders must give law enforcement all the necessary tools that assist them in bringing law and order to our communities. The relevance of issues like flock and other issues like the Safe and Sane Fireworks Ordinance will generate disagreements among us, but our cohesiveness must remain intact. And I, for one, have several other critical issues on my mind. And when the time comes, I hope we can all step to the forefront of those issues and make a significant difference. Con eso me despido. Gracias por escucharme. Recuerden que la bandera de la ciudad, it's upside down. Someone pointed that out. Maybe you guys take good luck with that. Thank you.
We have a Zoom ID beginning with the name Mario. If you would please select. Sorry, I'm not able to unmute you. Okay, now, if the.
All right, now I got it. Yeah, all right. So yeah, I was waiting for the box to pop up. Okay, so yeah, I really didn't have much to hit on, but Mr. Gonzalez really woke me up right there when he said the flock system. Yeah, so here in Shitgate, $10 million structured deficit, So because we're in a $10 million financial hole that we got to figure out how to crawl out of, our chief of police is not going to fund this flock system that Southgate has or had. So that's out for the upcoming fiscal year. You want to know what else is out? The body worn camera that our officers wear. He isn't going to fund that either. $137,000 is how much the body worn camera program is for here in Shitgate. And because we're in a $10 million structured deficit, that's out. And that ain't happening next fiscal year. And one of the things I found appalling is I got a council member. Maybe you've heard of him. I call him the old monkey, Gil Hurtado. This guy's been on the council for like 20 years. Who the hell serves 20 years on the city council, for crying out loud? But this guy had the nerve to say that one of the things that he wanted to have prioritized for the upcoming fiscal year, because here in Southgate we have this Christmas parade. Oh, yes, we have to have that for the residents. Oh, really? You're going to prioritize a Christmas parade over police accountability with the body-worn cameras? $100,000 is how much that lousy parade costs. I said during my public comment, I said, look, if the residents of Southgate are so desperate for a parade, let them go to Linwood. They have a Christmas parade. Let them go to Downey. Downey has a Christmas parade. And I bet you the one in Downey is even better than ours. So, yeah, I just wanted to hit on that. And then, the other thing, council members, I'm kind of dreading this. Tomorrow we're having our city council meeting here in Southgate, and the Rodders, as I call them, they're going to determine whether or not we should use Zoom or Microsoft Teams. Now, mind you, with Microsoft Teams, all we're getting is a phone number. That's it. A lousy stinking phone number. We don't even get to have full use of the app, and they want to dump this inferior tech on us. I'm like, and then in my research, because I've called 7 city halls, so 7 cities around us are going to be using Zoom come July of this year. You guys have been using it since 2020. Was it Cudahy since 2020? And Huntington Park is already in compliance since January 2026. They brought it back for their residents. So 7 cities in total are going to be using Zoom. Meanwhile, tomorrow we're going to figure out whether or not Shitgate. And I said this to in an email to our council members. I see this as an intelligence test. We're going to find out whether or not these people have the brains to go with Zoom. All in with that.
Thank you. That is the last virtual participant.
Thank you so much. City Clerk, will you please announce the instructions for public participation for items listed on the agenda?
Yes, thank you. Members of the public will now have an opportunity to speak on items listed on the agenda. Please state your name for the record. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Each callers wishing to speak may do so at this time by dialing *9 from your phone. And when instructed, dial *6 to unmute yourself. Individuals joining through Zoom may request to speak by using the raise hand feature and select the unmute or microphone icon when instructed. We didn't receive any public comment cards, but we do have one hand raised virtually. Zoom ID beginning with Mario. You may begin.
Hold on a second, council members. I'm on my laptop. Hang on a second. I'm scrolling through the agenda here. Let me see what I want to hit on. Hang on a second here, just a moment. Let me just scroll down. Consideration of town resolution approved. Letter, memorandum, understanding Bell Gardens, employees associate. No, I'll skip that. What's going on? Approving prime contract agreement with Iron Brick Associates, virtual services. Oh, Doug, I didn't read that item report. Let's see. Well, what's the next one? The discharge safe and sane fireworks. Consider adoption ordinance. Okay, let me hit on the fireworks one. Okay, so council members, what's going on here? I mean, what are we doing here? I mean, why is this even necessary? Are you guys really being critical of the agenda and asking yourselves, why are we moving forward with bringing back fireworks? I mean, you guys are like a yo-yo here. First you had them, then you made them go away. Now you want to bring them back. I don't understand why. If you already know that the residents are blowing up the sky with the illegal shit, you know they're already doing it. So now it's all a matter of enforcement. If you want to enforce the laws that you currently have on the books, then it's time to let the police do their job and start taking up pictures like that gentleman who did a presentation, I don't know how long ago. He mentioned how other cities photograph the address and what's going on there, and then they send a ticket to that address. That sounds like a smart plan. Do that. But honestly, I don't think this is even necessary. You know, why not give your residents a break? People are already using the illegal stuff, so let them have at it and just enforce what you have on the books. All in with that.
Thank you. Mayor, members of the public, that was the last virtual participant.
Thank you, City Clerk. If there's no objection by the members of the City Council, I will now close public participation for items not listed on the agenda and for items listed on the agenda. Moving on to committee updates, does any member of the City Council have anything to report?
Briefly, Mayor, if I may, I just want to report out, there is June 4th, there will be a Cal Cities meeting happening in, I believe it's in Rosemead. And I will be attending. It's the final meeting of the current leadership for the board. I had applied to serve on that board, on the executive committee. Usually you enter as secretary treasurer, first vice president, and then you become president. I got notified today that I was named as secretary treasurer at this upcoming meeting. So, you know, after trying to serve on that committee for quite a while, and it represents all 88 cities of LA County for the division of the LA division. So, you know, I encourage everybody to attend if possible. I'd love to see the council there. Again, it'll be June 4th, and it'll be in, I think it's in Edison, SoCal Edison offices in Rosemead. So just wanted to mention that. And then on behalf of the Community and Economic and Housing Committee that the mayor and I serve, this week, upcoming week, we will be attending the ICSC conference. We have a full set schedule with our Director Acosta, and we've been meeting with, we have a list of properties that we're going to be showcasing for our city, and we hope we can, there's some interest in trying to come forward to our community. So it's exciting. And then finally, there's going to be contract cities happening this weekend as well. That concludes my comments.
Thank you, Councilmember Chavez. Any other updates?
Yeah, very quickly, as part of the vector control district, which is basically the mosquito control, I just want to let you guys know that we're looking into doing an art piece with chalk on the sidewalk, probably in front of the aquatic center. We're working on the details, but we're aiming for June 15. If you guys want to stop by, we're going to be there at 6 p.m. more than likely. So it's tentative, but it looks like that's going to be the date. So June 15 is a Monday in front of the aquatic center. We're going to do some art to raise awareness about not leaving little puddles of water or anything with water around, because it is mosquito season and that's how disease spreads, and, you know, also just annoying mosquitoes everywhere. So anyway, yeah.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Bárcena.
Just on behalf of the Gateway COG, the committee that I sit on, every city right now that is part of the high-speed internet to bring to their city. I know we've been talking about this for quite some time. Our deadline's coming up of having to complete that project. Luckily, we are on track. A couple of bumps in the road here and there with a couple cities. Luckily, our city is not one of them. So I want to thank Bernie for working with them and making sure that we're able to get that done. And then June 20th, we're collaborating with Cudahy and Maywood for our big viewing event. They're excited that we're collaborating with them. I know some of the streets are going to get closed off, specifically Clara. They're talking about the Clara Bridge that bridges between us and Cudahy. So I'm looking forward to that, to continue working with those cities.
It's exciting. Thank you so much, Councilmember Dr. De Leon Sanchez. Any other committee updates? And if not, we'll go ahead and proceed with the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor De La Rosa. This one's a little longer since there is not a council meeting on May 25th due to
Este es un poco más largo porque no hay reunión el 25 por el Día Memorial. Quiero reconocer que el Departamento de Policía hizo una reunión de vigilancia de negocios. También tenemos el estudio de artes cada jueves a las 6 de la tarde. 1 de mayo tuvimos la venta de arte de patio con el mercado al aire libre. 5 de mayo, taco con un policía hicieron. aquí por la Florence tuvo mucho éxito. Este fin de semana pasado tuvimos la feria comunitaria del Club Leones. Parece que todo salió totalmente exitoso. Hoy a las 6 de la tarde, para residentes que no hayan estado aquí, un taller de prevención de ciberfraude. Este viernes es la fecha límite para poner nombres en las banderas para los que se gradúan. Puede ir al calendario en la aplicación o se puede llegar a servicios de recreo y parques. Eso incluye fotos. Si no tiene foto, no llegue, pero hay fechas para sacar fotos. El 15 de mayo tenemos otro mercado de comestibles gratis junto con la venta de arte de patio. El viernes un mercado familiar que es cada mes. 13 de mayo, fecha límite para becas. Hay becas de 4,000, 3,000, 2,000 y 1,000 para residentes de Bell Gardens. También vayan al calendario en el sitio web o se comunican con servicios de recreo directamente y podrán darles la solicitud. 25 de mayo es Día Memorial. El ayuntamiento está cerrado, pero como hemos dicho en estas proclamaciones, hay muchos que estarán trabajando, aunque sea día festivo. A las 10 de la mañana tenemos un programa que estamos haciendo con la ciudad de Commerce en el cementerio aquí en La Gage para rendirles honor a los que han muerto en las guerras, que es el propósito del Día Memorial. El 2 de junio es la elección primaria. Todos deberían de haber recibido sus balotas ya. Como parte de esa elección está la medida BG, que es un impuesto sobre la venta de punto 125. O sea, sería con $100 serían nada más 25 centavos más que se pagan. $100 de comida no pagan nada porque comida sin preparar no está sujeta a impuestos. El 27 de mayo, miércoles a las 9 de la noche, es el sexto, a las 9 de la mañana, perdón, una feria de contratación en Ross Hall. Eso lo hacemos con el grupo de contratación del suroeste. Hay más de 100 compañías estarán ahí. Si alguien se está graduando, está buscando trabajo o no simplemente quiere volver a agarrar un trabajo, cambiar de trabajo, el miércoles 27 de mayo a las 9 de la mañana, el 5 de junio, otro mercado al aire libre. Y verán también en la agenda convenida hay más asuntos que lo normal porque no hay otra reunión este mes. Tenemos un contrato con la Asociación de Empleados Municipales, reconocimiento del Día de Pueblos Indígenas. Gracias por ese reconocimiento. Un acuerdo de servicios de kioscos para reemplazar el servicio de pago actual para modernizar el sistema de planilla, de pagos, de sueldos, todo. La ciudad no ha tenido esto antes, nos falta un poco. Tenemos un grupo pequeño de finanzas, un departamento pequeño con pocos, realmente es una sola persona que lleva esto y esto nos dará servicios de emergencia si hay alguna interrupción por razones médicas o alguna cosa así. En un sitio fuera, todavía podremos. Tenemos lectura, segunda lectura de la ordenanza para fuegos artificiales seguros y sanos, también un servicio de mangueras de presión. Eso es lo que si hay algo en la calle que está mal, algo feo, se usa esto. También instalación de cunetas rojas y que eso ya lo aprobó la comisión de
for continued preparation, moving things forward with the transit-oriented community plan. We also have approval for plans for a recycled water project. This one's been in the works for about 6 to 7 years. That would bring recycled water, which is currently used down at Ford Park for irrigation purposes. It would run the recycled water up to Veterans Park. And this item is to approve the plans and specifications and to put bids out. So this project is moving forward, and this one would bring recycled water up to Veterans Park, which is currently using potable water that otherwise could be used for drinking. And then the final item that I will mention is also for the budgeted purchase of timing scoreboards for the Dreamers Aquatic Center. We are having pretty big meets go up there currently, and to keep that momentum going with revenue generation and use of that pool, these kind of signboards, timing, scoring are necessary to make that aquatic center attractive for those purposes. And the final thing I would just like to say, as the mayor mentioned earlier, I have given my resignation as the city manager from the city of Bell Garden effective June 6th. But this is my last council meeting, just the way things are working out. I'll still probably be up late on the next agenda for the June 8th meeting, working on that to make sure that's done. But I just want to say, and I'll be able to say individually to people, but just publicly, I want to say thank you to the council from 2019 when I got here through to the council today for allowing me to serve all of you, all the residents, the businesses, the nonprofits, the employees, visitors, stakeholders. And it's been 7 years of, I think, moving things forward, trying to continually improve upon things that were done before. And I'm very appreciative of the support and the trust that you all have given me during those 7 years. And so I'm very appreciative for that. And with that, I'll end, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mike, for your thorough overview of the coming months and for the kind words. We will now move over to consent calendar. Does any member of the City Council successor agency wish to pull an item for separate discussion?
I'd like to pull 10.5 and 10.7.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. City
Is that a
Clerk?
motion? Councilmember Barcena?
I'll move.
Okay, so just for the record, it's a motion by Councilmember Barcena, second by Councilwoman Dr. De Leon Sanchez as to all consent items with the exception of 10.5 and 10.7.
City Clerk, will you please conduct a roll call vote?
Yes, thank you, members of the council and successor agency. Barcena?
Yes, with the exception of 10.8, that will be a no.
Thank you. Councilmember Chavez?
Aye.
Councilwoman Sanchez?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Guillen? And Mayor De La Rosa?
Yes.
Motion passes.
City Manager, will you please introduce the item, City Clerk?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Item 10.5 is the consideration of a resolution approving a software as a service and service agreement with City Base for cashiering and kiosk services associated with the Workday system that I mentioned as part of the city manager report. And just kind of cue it up maybe before I turn Manuel over and ask for any questions. As a reminder, the council approved about 6 or 7 months ago the purchase of what's called Workday. That's the name of the product, Human Capital Management Financial Systems. It basically replaces our at least 20-year-old system that we've been using called Eden that will not be supported after March of 2027. So to approve the implementation of that system, along with that system, as we're getting close to implementation, which is scheduled for the end of June, we've identified that there are a couple areas of services that we didn't address with the original purchase agreement. And on 10.5 specifically, we have cashiering systems at the Rec Community Services, the Police Department, here at City Hall, and the current system that we use as part of the Eden package that is not going to be any longer supported. So we looked and realized that we also need those same services for Workday, capital management, financial systems. So the cost is about 45,000, offset by some credit card fees that bring it to about 35,000. We're currently, I believe, estimated we spend about 15 or 20,000 for these types of services. So with that, I'll see if Manuel Carrillo, our finance admin director, wants to add anything, and then entertain any questions. I don't know, Manuel, if I didn't hit on anything regarding the cashiering kiosk system.
Mr. Kelly, Mr. Andy C., our Human Resources Manager, is here to provide a little more detail on that.
Yes. Yeah, good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. So during the course of the city looking into replacing the current Eden system, we also identified that the current cashiering system is also quite outdated and may not be the best solution. Currently, we do have service gaps in the cashiering. In particular, the police department. So on the weekends when City Hall is not open for business, when service users come to City Hall, they're having to bring exact change to pay the counter personnel, that there isn't really a system to collect the cash. So there's a gap in terms of just the chain of custody of money, and then essentially had to wait till Monday to turn it over to the cashier. So it's not very convenient. Also, it is not exactly convenient for service users to have to go find exact change and bring it, to the counter. So with the new system, they'll be able to pay with a modern system, and also there's a kiosk now that's available in the lobby. So in the hours when the front counter is not open, they're also able to access the kiosk and pay the fees. And same thing, there'll be one available at the Dreamers Aquatic Center, where service user can also use that now to pay for their classes and other city fees. So making service a lot more accessible to our residents without having to wait for the service hours during when City Hall's open here with the cashiering booth.
So I think thank you, Andy. So just as a reminder, Andy's our human resource manager, but also is heavily taken the lead in implementing the Workday system. It's pretty much used for payroll management, timekeeping management, procurement, accounts payable, accounts receivable, and general ledger accounting. So be happy to answer any more questions on this item.
So very quickly, what he was referring to was item 10.7 in regards to the cashiers, right? Or was that pertaining to 10.5 as well?
10.5, Councilmember,
Okay.
sorry.
Okay, thank you. So the reason why I pulled these two items, I just want to point out that collectively they're $67,000. That's the fiscal impact per year. How many years is it in the contract for both of these?
It will be till 2028.
2028. Okay, so 2 years. And I did talk to Mike very briefly. He said that the previous cost was about 15,000, like that, something like that.
Right in that range, Councilmember. So there's still going to be an increased cost.
So that's an increase of about $50,000. I just wanted to point that out. It's just something that I would usually hope to see like on the discussion, or at least, given the heads up in advance. It's just a good chunk of money, but I'm happy that you guys are going to have an additional way to take in money. And if it's going to make it easier for our residents to provide payment, then it makes sense. Just wanted to kind of get more details on it. And also, thank you for clarifying, City Manager. I didn't know that this was not included or not mentioned in the original purchase or the approval of, what is the name of the system again?
Workday, Councilmember.
Okay. Well, thank you for clarifying. That's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much for bringing that to our attention. And any other questions or comments regarding this item from council? Andy, just a quick question. What is the processing fee again for receiving transactions or? Or is it not?
Unfortunately, I don't have that figure memorized, but compared to what we're currently paying, we are going to be saving money on that. Unfortunately, I don't have that figure.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, Andy. At this point in time, is there a motion to waive the purchasing policy requirements pursuant to Bell Gardens Municipal Code, Section 3.04.100?
Mayor, if I may, I have a quick question. Now that Councilwoman Barcena brought it up, and it's pretty straightforward. I just want to make sure that by us implementing this sort of system, kiosks and cashiering services, although it gives a lot of different alternatives and more flexibility, is anybody's employment going to get impacted by this?
No, no, sir. This is for two reasons. One, for convenience for the community, and also it's for security purposes. As I mentioned, currently there is a gap where there isn't actually a point of a point of service in the PD, for example. So there's an actual cashiering machine there. So cash is being handed to the personnel at the counter, with a written receipt, and everything's manual right now in the envelope. So that's not exactly the best practice in cash management. It just, so we're making it not only convenient for people, now we also have a chain of custody in terms of when we do receive money.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Much. If there are no more questions or comments, would like to see if there's a motion to approve staff's recommendation for items 10.5 and 10.7.
Move to approve.
City Clerk, can you please conduct a roll call vote?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Barcena,
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez,
Aye.
Councilwoman Sanchez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Guillen,
Yes.
and Mayor De La Rosa.
Yes.
Motion passes, Padre.
We'll now move over to discussion items. City Manager, will you please announce the discussion item for number 11.1?
Yes, thank you, Mayor De La Rosa. This item is similar to the last item, and that was cashiering and kiosk. This item is something that's been more brought to light also as implementations. Oh,
We're at 11.1 now.
We knocked them both out, so we're good.
thank you. It's an easier item. The first item here on discussion, Mayor, is local commissions appointments. So staff's recommendation that the council review the appointments list by motion, remove commissioners, and or make appointments to the posted vacancies. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. O'Kelly. Does any member of the council wish to make any adjustments? If not, we'll proceed again with discussion item 11.2.
Thank you, Mayor De La Rosa. My face starts red, so it's not more red for that prior mistake. Looks the same. Inside, I can feel the redness, though. This next item is a consideration of an interim urgency ordinance for essentially for the city to adopt the state codes as opposed to the county codes as it relates to building standards for residential, electrical, mechanical, etc. I will turn it over to Manny Acosta, our Community Development Director, to provide more information on why we're bringing this item, which may look similar to an item we brought several months ago regarding the county adoption of the county codes. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Good evening again, honorable mayor, members of the city council. We are requesting consideration of urgency ordinance number 968-U. Again, this is consideration of urgency ordinance, amending certain sections of Title VI of the Building and Construction Code of the Bell Municipal Code to remove all references of Los Angeles County Code of Title 26, Building Code, Title 27, Electrical Code, Title 28, Plumbing Code, Title 26, Mechanical, Title 30, Residential, and Title 36, Green Building Standards Codes, which amends and adopts by reference the 2025 California Building Standards Code and adopt by reference the 2025 California Energy Code, the Wildland Urban Interface Code, existing building code, and referenced in standards code. As the city manager also briefly touched on, this item did come to you back in January. And basically, the Uniform Building Code is updated every 3 years to reflect any changes in national model codes and standards because of advancements in technology and building and life safety industries. So multiple agencies do review these standards and changes and incorporate into Title 24 of the state code. The new 2025 Building Standards Code was published again July 1st, 2025, and went into effect in January 1st, 2026. And to give you an update, on January 12th, 2026 and January 26th, 2026, Council adopted an interim ordinance number 963-U and ordinance number 962, adopted by reference the Los Angeles County Building Code, Electrical Code, Plumbing, Mechanical, Residential, and Green Code. On March 18th of this year, the California Building Standards Commission advised the city that it must comply with AB 130, therefore requiring the adoption of this urgency ordinance. The interim ordinance number 968-U is presented as a measure to immediate protection of the public health and safety, welfare, and comply with the AB 130. The staff recommends that the Bell Municipal Code be amended to remove all reference to the Los Angeles Code, strictly implementing the 2025 California Building Code. An adoption of the adoption of a 2025 Building Standards Code is required to avoid conflict and confusion for permitting approvals and enforcement. In other words, we are recommending that we adopt the California Building Code versus the state LA County Code. The original ordinance requires a 4/5 vote to approve and shall terminate 180 days after the adoption. Council will conduct a public hearing to adopt a new building code ordinance based on the 2025 California standards in a future date. So we will be bringing this back with a full ordinance at a later date. It is also recommended the City Council adopt urgency ordinance number 968-U by 4/5 vote to amend Title 6 of the Building and Construction Code of the Bell Municipal Code, remove all references to the LA County Code, Title 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, and 31, which amend and adopt by reference the 2025 California Building Standards Code, and adopt by reference the 2025 California Energy Code, Wildland Urban Interface Code, Existing Building Code, and Reference Standards Code. And that concludes my presentation. And I'm here as well as Mark Bergs, our building official, for any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Acosta, for the thorough presentation. My question is, during this amendment period, will there be any development that will be impacted or such?
No, so we're still under the state code. So we're just implementing basically the state code already. So we're just trying to comply with the state code by including it in our municipal code.
Thank you so much.
Just to add to that, the other reason why we're doing an urgency ordinance is to avoid any confusion with what is codified in the municipal code versus what we're actually implementing. So this is kind of like a gap to give us some time to actually implement the codified permanent ordinance, so that there's no confusion when individuals come into City Hall and they say, you know, you're abiding by state, but the municipal code says LA County. So this is just for that clarification purpose.
Thank you so much for the information. Any questions or comments regarding this item?
Quick question. So we'll be in compliance with the state and then therefore LA County as well, just because currently right now there's a bit of confusion, it sounds like.
Yeah, so currently what we adopted previously and in the past was the LA County by reference. So in order to comply with AB 130, and also to alleviate confusion, as the city attorney said, we're adopting all of the state codes for all the different disciplines. So with that, we would need to codify also all of our municipal codes to comply with the state code. So all the references of LA County will be removed, and we'll just be referencing state code. There are some sections that are not mentioned in our code, but that we're still have to comply with LA County.
During the process, there won't be any interruption for certain people out there that are abiding by the old municipal code.
There shouldn't be. They're still complying with the state code. It just in their plans, we will have them comply with with the municipal code anyways. So there shouldn't be any type of hiccups or slowdowns on any of the projects that are coming through.
Thank you so much. Any other questions or comments?
Just for clarification, the previous slide, please. Or it says the urgency ordinance requires a 4/5 to approve. After the 180, it'll be 3/5. The second bullet point.
It requires a vote of 4 of your council members in order to pass.
And the 180 days after shall terminate. What does that?
So that's when we're bringing the permanent ordinance.
Okay.
Thank you so much. May I have a motion to adopt interim urgency ordinance number 968-U?
Move.
May I have a second?
Okay.
City Clerk, will you please conduct a roll call vote?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Members of the Council and Successor Agency, Barcena,
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez,
Aye.
Councilwoman Sanchez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Guillen,
Yes.
and Mayor De La Rosa.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, City Clerk. City Manager, will you please announce the next discussion item?
Yes, thank you, Mayor De La Rosa. This item is the discussion of the proposed fiscal year 26-27 fiscal budget. This is probably the item here that definitely myself, Manuel Carrillo, the department heads spent a lot of time on over the last week. So I just want to address, I think Councilmembers Barcena's questions regarding the system. Some of that was not addressed in advance, just based on the timing that we were spending on this. So apologies for that on the information lag there. I recognize that's an issue. And part of the reason why this agenda went out as late as it went, I think it was at 1 a.m. or so. So with that, I will turn it over to Manuel Carrillo for this presentation. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, this evening we will be providing an overview of the proposed preliminary budget for the upcoming fiscal year 26-27. We will be providing an overview of projected general fund revenues and expenditures, as well as projected all city funds figures. As indicated, this is the proposed budget. This budget will once again be brought to council at the June 8th meeting for adoption as well as capital improvement budgets and the GAN limit adoptions for the fiscal year. So for the current fiscal year 25-26, we are projecting a deficit of 1.97 million at June 30th, 2026. For fiscal year 26-27, we are projecting a deficit of 3.6 million. The proposed fiscal year 26-27 budget includes one-year labor agreements with all existing labor groups. This proposed budget is factoring in a vacancy rate of 7.5%. This includes for 26-27 a significant increase to the JPA coverage costs, which is about $535,000. As we have formulated this budget, we are assuming a few key items moving forward, which are the passing of the 1/4 add-on sales tax approved by voters at the June 2nd special election, and a successful preliminary injunction blocking the Attorney General's cardroom rules. There is a hearing scheduled for May 21st of this month. Here we revisit the current fiscal year 25-26 general fund budget. It was adopted at 50,060,167 for both revenues and expenditures. At mid-year, we projected increases to revenue as well as increases to expenditures, resulting in a deficit of 1.98 million. Now, after further review and calculation, we project a slight adjustment to year-end figures, resulting in a deficit of 1.97 million through the end of the fiscal year. This next slide provides an overview of our projected fund balance at June 30th, 2026. As we can see, the figure in the top right corner represents the actual fund balance at June 30th, 2025. Now, this is the audited and confirmed fund balance figure provided to us as part of our recently completed ACFR for fiscal year 24-25. We then see the projected change in fund balance for fiscal year 25-26. This is the projected deficit at June 30th, 2026, which we just talked about, the 1.97 million. And this results in a projected fund balance at June 30th, 26 of 23,457,505. Now, this amount represents two components, one which are funds assigned to leave accruals, general obligations, and contingencies. The other is referred to as non-spendable, and which are water fund receivables or money that the water fund owes the general fund, as well as other calculated receivables. Once again, these figures are part of our audited financial statements.
Manuel, before you switch from this slide, I always say I'm not going to interrupt, but I do on it. So I think it's important. There's some things that people ask questions on. And when you see a projected change in fund balance of a negative $2 million, that would generally raise some concern. That's pretty much the number we've been showing, I think, at least twice during this fiscal year regarding some of the card room revenues, shortfalls there. This is the reason that government agencies have a fund balance. Sometimes people will look and say, well, if a government agency has a fund balance, a savings account, if you will, they must have overtaxed me. The point of it is to have a cushion for financial sort of issues that occur where you don't want to be cutting services and then raising services year after year based on the specifics of that year. If you look at acceptable standards out there, usually somewhere at least about 20% of your general fund revenues or expenditures, which in our case is about 10 million. A spendable fund balance of about 10 million would be considered the appropriate number. And then it's generally accepted that that number would be higher if you are a government agency that has a single source of revenue, such as the City of Bell Gardens with the bicycle card room, or like City of Anaheim with Disneyland, or Buena Park with Knott's Berry Farm. So that number of 10 million, we're at 17.7 million, not counting non-spendable because you can't pay bills with money that the water fund owes you. But it should still be of concern as that number is a negative 1.9 million. And then as far as it continues on, action should be taken to shore that up. You don't want to deplete the fund balance, to any certain degree where you start having cash flow issues. So if you look at the chart below, just to show where the fund balance has been over the last 5 or 6 years to where it is now, it's not at some level that is drastically below anywhere that it's been over the last 5 or 6 years, but it's the trend that you want to be considering, and that from the staff perspective, we want to be addressing and expressing to the council going forward. So this really just shows, this is why the fund balance is there. It's there to cushion any shortfalls in revenues or any increases in expenditures, so that services are maintained year by year. Thanks, Manuel.
Thank you, Mr. O'Kelly. So here we have an overview of our projected general fund budget for fiscal year 26-27. We have revenues projected at 49,043,704 and expenditures at 52,717,773. Now, this would result in a projected deficit of 3.6 million for the fiscal year. Here we have an overview of the key components of the general fund revenues. What we see here is a side-by-side comparison of the prior year adopted figures for 25-26 and what the projected figures are for 26-27. The areas with expected reductions from the prior year are card club tax, which is projected to come in at about 1.5 million lower than the prior year. Reductions in calculated Measure A add-on sales tax of approximately 77,000. Now, this is based on HDL projections provided to the city. Other areas with expected reductions are operating transfers in, loan proceeds, and some plan pull fees. Areas where we are expected to see increases from the prior year are motor vehicles in lieu, sales and use tax, the voter approved 0.25% add-on sales tax, which will be taken to a vote at the June 2nd election, rental registry, and loan repayments for ROPS, which are areas with expected increases as well.
And Manuel, just to point out for the council, this is adopted budget compared to proposed budget. These aren't actual numbers. So when you see the top line there of $19 million budgeted, the actual amount is going to be around, for this fiscal year of 25-26, will be in that $17 to $18 million range. So what's being budgeted for 26-27 is more accurate relative to the actual revenues that are coming from the card room currently. So it isn't a $1.5 million reduction from actuals to actuals. It's from budget to what we believe are going to be the actuals.
So the next slide provides a breakdown of the top general fund revenue sources by percentage. And as we can see here, the top 10 revenue sources make up 86.25% of the city's total general fund revenue budget. This next graph provides a historical overview of casino revenue over the last several years. The projected year-end casino revenue is $17,013,047 at June 30th, 2026. For fiscal year 26-27, it is proposed to come in at $17,437,862, and this is based on recent performances and projections moving forward.
And Manuel, just because this is such an important slide for council, you know, if you see that a big increase, if you ignore the COVID drop there from about 4 to 5 years ago, you see a dip here over the last 2 years or so, which does seem to correspond with, ironically, with all of the improvements that they're doing over at the card room. So if you see the parking lot where most of the patrons will park, it was under construction for the better part of 12 to 18 months. Never mind the interior that was done. So what we budgeted at 17.4, we would expect that there's some potential upside there because the majority of that construction is done at this point. So the parking lot's open, the shade structures are there, the solar panels are up. But until we see something to say otherwise, we've done what we believe to be a reasonable, somewhat conservative proposed budgeted revenue for the card room. I think it's important to say, as Manuel said in the first slide, some of the major issues that we've not accounted for anything regarding any issues with the Attorney General's rules. If the Attorney General's rules, were to go into effect, we would anticipate that 17.4 to go to somewhere around 12.4, 13.4 million, somewhere in that range. So we haven't accounted for that, and would obviously have to address that if those rules were to go into place. Thanks, man.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. This table is a comparative breakdown of general fund expenditure categories, showing the prior year adopted for fiscal year 25-26 and the proposed figures for 26-27. We see increases in personnel services, the programmed 3% increase due to new labor agreements, as well as other associated personnel increases to contractual services, driven by increases to the JPI insurance premium, increases associated with the June 2nd election, which will be paid in 26-27, as well as citywide IT contractual increases. Now, we expect overall reductions in department supplies and capital outlay. We expect increases to debt services. Now, this is due in part to the new energy efficiency project, which is expected to result in offsetting energy savings. Significant increases in transfers to other funds, primarily driven by increases to transfers out to gas tax, transfers out to the ROPS, which is offset by additional revenue, and increases to the overall retiree health commitments and premiums. Now, this does include a standard annual transfer to reserves of 200,000. And as indicated, a vacancy rate of 7.5% is utilized. Now, overall, personnel and contractual services combined make up 89.96% of the general fund expenditure budget. Now, the next table shows details associated with personnel expenditures. Now, as indicated, this factors in the 3% increase associated with the new one-year labor agreements. The overall increases also factor in increases to multiple categories such as CalPERS retirement expenditures, health insurance, workers' compensation, as well as vacation/sick leave cash outs. Now, for fiscal year 26-27, there is an offset in savings associated with overtime requests for the year. There is a projected reduction in requested OT of about 239,000 compared to the prior year. Now, this table provides a historical breakdown of full-time positions. Now, in fiscal year 26-27, we are budgeting 157 full-time positions. This reflects an additional one position added to the Community Development Department, and this was done during the additional appropriations process in the current fiscal year 25-26. Now, the next few slides provide some further detail on some of the key expense categories for fiscal year 26-27. On this slide, we go a bit more in detail into the contractual services area. Now, for fiscal year 26-27, contractual services are projected to come in at $14,453,869. Now, this is an increase of about $342,000 from the prior year, and it consists of approximately 27.42% of the general fund expenditure budget. Now, this increase is driven by a few factors. As indicated, the increase of $535,000 in JPIA insurance premiums for fiscal year 26-27 associated with the municipal risk pool management. Increases of about $100,000 in expenses associated with the upcoming elections, which although the election occurs in the current year 25-26, we actually get billed for it by the county in 26-27. So that's when it'll actually be paid out. Increases of $200,000 in software licensing, a new agreement with Landwan, and IT expenses associated with citywide events and special project support. Now, these increases are offset by overall reductions in contractual expenditures for police, public works, and recreation and community services. On this slide, we see a bit more detail in terms of the department supplies category. Now, this consists of general supplies that each respective department needs to run operations and activities for the city. For fiscal year 26-27, department supplies are projected to be $1,229,180. Now, this is a decrease of $106,000 from the prior year and consists of approximately 2.3% of the general fund expenditure budget. Next, we have an overview of the capital outlay section of the general fund expenditures. Now, this consists of one-time purchases utilized to acquire or improve long-term assets. For fiscal year 26-27, it is expected to come in at $1.4 million. Now, this is an overall decrease of $997,000 from the prior year and consists of approximately 2.73% of the general fund expenditures. Now, in this section, we see increases to police IT, hardware, software, as well as PD vehicles. But overall, capital outlay is expected to decrease in fiscal year 26-27 due to reductions for community development, public works, recreation, community services, and IT services as well.
And Manuel, just to stall out on that, so basically, as we see how this budget's looking with the deficit, the instructions were if there's not anything that's absolutely necessary to remove it out of the budget. And then if something becomes necessary, obviously we'd come back to the council and ask for authority at that time. But you know, you might ask for like police vehicles, 175,000. So we know just based on the number of vehicles that we have, that's generally not enough to even keep up with things, because that'll purchase about 3 to 5 vehicles. But that's sort of the minimum amount that we budget, knowing that we're going to need to generally in any year replace that many vehicles just due to wear, tear, maintenance costs being higher than the actual value of the vehicle and things of that nature. So the reduction there is purposeful to get $1 million out of the budget and then see if we can defer any of those costs, you know, as far out, considering we already have a deficit.
On this next slide, we see further detail regarding the transfers out. Now, these are general fund transfers out to other city funds, and for fiscal year 26-27, it is projected to be 3.8 million, with an increase of about 1.9 million from the prior year, and is approximately 7.25% of the general fund expenditures. Now, this increase is as a result of an increase of 536,000 to the general to transfer to gas tax from the prior year, and transfer to ROPS of 1 million, with an increase from the prior year, which is offset by additional revenue that is received by the city. And an increase of approximately 393,000 associated with retiree health commitments and premiums for city employees that are retired, and still we still providing a benefit for them in terms of medical. Here we have the debt service section. Now, this consists of principal and interest payments for bonds and loans received by the city. Now, this amount is approximately 1 million for fiscal year 26-27. Now, these include payments related to the 2015 lease bond, energy savings lease purchase agreements, and the newly adopted energy savings lease agreement, which is set to go into effect in 26-27, which is also expected to see some offsets in energy savings. Now, at the bottom portion of this page, we see the total city debt calculations as of June 30th, 2025. Now, these are figures confirmed by our auditors as part of our ACFR preparation, and they include essentially it's a snapshot of net position liability, net retiree health liability, as well as any other value of outstanding debt as of June 30th, 2025. So again, this is part of the audited financial statements.
Council, this is just for interesting purposes, Emmanuel said. So this number is pretty alarming, right? $120 million total city debt. This is really an accounting calculation. This isn't anything really having to do with how much you have to spend out of your budget for the most part. This is if the city were, let's say, a corporation and was going to just close up shop, and you were going to look to see what are the total city assets, what are the total city debt. You're going to pay everything off at one time. It would cost about $120 million for the total city liabilities. That would be offset against the total city assets. So what would cover all of these liabilities? You'd sell off all the city assets theoretically. City Hall, the parks, the sidewalk, streets, any lots. And just off the top of my head from the financial statements, the city's assets are worth more than the city's total debt. Not that the city would ever do that, but the accounting rules still say you have to measure that and look at it just as a measurement of overall financial health of a municipal organization. So, and it's to make sure the council understands that there are long-term liabilities out there that we don't generally discuss very often. We talk about next year's budget and how much we have to pay for retiree medical. Well, if we wanted to set aside money to cover retiree medical for the rest of the time the city exists, we'd have to set aside $58 million, which generally you wouldn't do. It's like having a mortgage. If you had that much money, you wouldn't have a mortgage. You just make your payments on it. And ultimately, the point is to pay it off. If the city were to wind down operations, all those liabilities would be paid off at the same time.
Oh, so
this is where we test Manuel Carrillo to see if he can tell us, other than the police department, which is obvious.
So just as an example, so actually the next slide does have the same information. Unfortunately, I guess when we updated the PowerPoint, it didn't update as well. But so this slide is associated with the next one. So these percentages here on the left side reflect the percentages. Now this is a breakdown of general fund expenditures by department, or the percentage of by department. So as you can see, going down across, city council is 0.7, city manager, IT, telecom is 4.9, legal services 1.8, city clerk is 1.7, community development is 6%, finance, HR, and risk management is 11%, police 40.8, public works is 14.6, recreation is 13.7, debt service, which of course is debt payments, is 2%, transfers out, transfers to reserve, and then the vacancy savings that we had indicated before. So again, it is just a side-by-side comparison of what was adopted in 25-26, what we're proposing for 26-27, and the changes. Most of the changes, again, are driven by personnel cost, any contractual changes that might have occurred, but for the most part, it is primarily personnel and contractual services.
Manuel, on the back slide with the pie chart, did it
Yes.
still show the comparison between, I think, from prior year up at the top left?
It did, yes, we did put a comparison there, but so, for example, for PD 40.8, I believe the prior year was like 41.5, something to that effect.
And the reason that I call that out is at least in the last 5 or 6 years, because the police department takes up such a significant portion of the general fund, that number's been closer to the 50% range if you go back probably 6 years or so. And while the total expenditures have increased, the percentage of the police department as total general fund has come down. So the more of the increases have been on the community services department side of things because of the housing unit, and also on the recreation community development side of things for the housing unit, and then also on the recreation community services side of things for the community family services center. So those are distinctly different services provided to the residents that are different than police services and services that are provided by the police department. So that percentage has come down while the other departments have come up specifically due to those two areas. So thanks, man.
Thank you. And lastly, this is the projected all city funds budget for fiscal year 26-27. It is projected to be 73,511,670, and it consists of 34 overall funds, which includes the general fund, special revenue funds, capital projects, enterprise funds, and successor agency funds. As we indicated, of course, general fund, the expected expenditures are 52,717,773, and all the other funds, a majority of which are, of course, grant funded, where we do receive reimbursement for those projects from outside entities. But overall, it is all cities fund budget of 73,511,670 for fiscal year 26-27.
And Manuel, before you move on this, Councilmember Barson and I have had discussion on this item quite a bit over the years. You know, the general fund is really more discretionary. You know, what you use sales tax, property tax for is more discretionary. There are certain fees that aren't quite as discretionary that are in the general fund, such as the rental registration fee. That's supposed to be used for the cost of having a rent stabilization program. But if you're a resident out there, you know, the benefits that you would see from the expenditures is probably more in the $73 million range, because there'll be a lot of projects there in the streets, sidewalks, regarding transportation and things like that. But really from the council's perspective, for decisions of where to spend money is really all located within the general fund. So the other projects are really you're making administrative decisions over putting out a bid, selecting a construction company or a service provider for those services. So I think it always helpful, especially as Contract Cities is coming up, ICSC, ICA conference. You know, if you kind of keep in your mind general fund budget of about 50 million and total city fund budget about 75 million. Those are kind of easy numbers to remember if you're just talking with other colleagues and peers and service providers for other cities. Thanks, man.
Thank you, Mr. O'Kelly. So that does conclude my presentation for this evening. I'll be more than glad to answer any questions that council might have on this topic.
And Manuel, just on the first slide that Manuel had, there were really some key points as to what are the major factors that are included in this budget, that there could be changes to this budget, obviously from council direction, but also from really two major things that will occur before probably right around the time of the budget workshop, and then prior to bringing the council a budget for adoption on June 8th. Number one would be what's going on with the Attorney General rules. So on May 21st, there's a preliminary injunction that the card rooms have filed against the Attorney General to put a stay on those rules coming into effect while their lawsuit proceeds through the courts. We're not sure how long it would take for a judge to render a decision. Ideally for us, we would know one way or the other by that workshop. You know, and obviously would hope that the result would be that this stay is granted by a judge. The second part will be the results of Measure BG, which, as mentioned earlier, will go to the voters on June 2nd. That's incorporated into the budget currently, so we would have to pull those revenues out. We will know that pretty well in advance of the June 8th, meaning like 4 days in advance. We should know by around June 3rd how things look. The impact on the general fund revenue side of things is about 950,000 for this coming fiscal year. For future fiscal years, it would be more like 1.3 or 1.4 million. Reason being is if the voters approve it, based on the timing for the California Department of Taxation, we would only end up seeing 3/4 of a year of that revenue, which is about $950,000.
It would go into effect in October.
October 1st is when the actual tax would take effect, just based on timing, and then future years, it would be about 1.3 million.
Thank you so much, Mr. Carrillo and Mr. O'Kelly, for the thorough presentation. Very insightful, by the way. And your interjections, Mr. O'Kelly, actually help digest the numbers a lot further. So thank you so much for that. And my question is to staff. How do we? It's more on the surface so that the general public knows how such budgets are composed. What is the process that goes behind the scenes with formulating a proposed budget?
So, Mayor, as Manuel Carrillo mentioned earlier, I think it was about 89% of the budget, of general fund budget, is locked up in some sort of a contractual agreement. So whether that's employee MOUs or whether contractual agreements that we have with various service providers. So right off the bat, you start with those. The only way you're not going to have those expenditures is if you take some sort of action, either in an MOU through some kind of layoff or reduction, or through service contracts or procurement contracts where you cancel the service and either don't receive the service or don't provide the service anymore. The remaining 11% after that, which also that includes utilities and things of that nature, is arguably more discretionary to the degree that it's, does the police department need supplies at all, or does the police department need to budget $175,000 for vehicles? So we're left with about $5 million or so of non-locked in expenditures. And then what happens is the department submit their requests for things like events, supplies, equipment. That really kind of makes up the bulk of it there. And so if you're a member of the public, you may look and say, well, I'd like to just start from zero and start from scratch. And what generally for practical purpose would happen would be you'd start with a list of all the services and the MOU groups, and you'd say, well, this is what's all being provided. What would you like to stop providing? And, pull that out, or go in reverse and just say, what would you provide? And whatever you're doing that nobody wants you to do, you would stop doing. But I think for general member of the public would be 90% of it is obligated through sort of long-term thought process from the current council and oftentimes from previous councils. I'll mention the energy efficiency project phase 1 was about 5 years ago. And so there was several $1 million worth of energy efficiency projects that have paid for themselves. We had a guarantee, but if, let's say, that didn't work out positively, that would be something that would still have to be budgeted, and there would really be no way out of it. So really, even though we do a budget on an annual basis, the budget is really something that's affected by decisions that could be 5, 10, 15 years ago. You saw there were some the 2015 lease bonds were for an equipment replacement project, a big, I think about $8 million or so that was done in 2015. And here it is in 2026, and you see that there's still $4 million left. So those are decisions from 11 years ago. So the remaining budget are really oftentimes kind of smaller items that are supplies, events, things of that nature. That's the best way that I could kind of answer the question, Mayor. I don't know if I answered completely. Sorry.
You sure did. And thank you so much. Just it allows the public to disseminate this information a lot further. I did want to bring up the chart on slide 11. Across multiple conversations that we've had in council, one of the recurring topics is the uncertainty with the Attorney General and the implementation of policy that could potentially affect the casino revenues. And although we can't forecast exactly how we would be affected, what we can do is refer back to the past, right, and see those trends. And Mr. O'Kelly came in 2019. And could you tell us a little bit about how you managed to, spearhead this financial dip that we saw in those couple years, and how we can potentially prepare in the future?
Sure. So Councilmember Barceno was here at this time, as was Councilmember Chavez. So luckily the dip had nothing due to me showing up in 2019. So COVID hit in 2020, and effectively the card room was locked shut by the County Department of Public Health. If you were a resident in the city of Bell Gardens at the time, or a council member or a stakeholder, you probably did not notice a decrease in the level of service, other than things that were not allowed, like events, which you may not have wanted to go out anyway due to the COVID rules that were out. So you still got the same response time from the police department. In some cases, you got more service. We created a community family services center at the time. And so how was that done? That was really through the fact that the city had a fund balance. The fund balance was up at around 18 or 19 million dollars. The card room closed completely. You see the revenues were 6 million, where they had been 14 million just previous. So the city lost there was about 10 million dollars in revenue during COVID that was lost. That's where the fund balance is so important when we talk about it. That is your cushion. It's your air suspension as you go over ruts that keeps you kind of moving smooth. It's more of a Cadillac suspension, not a two-seater sport convertible suspension that might be a little tighter. It's a little more, gives you a little more flexibility there. And that's where I think the city of Bell Gardens had done a good job building up a fund balance, not knowing there was going to be a pandemic over all those years. And then coming out of the pandemic, as the council wanted to get the aquatic center replaced and rebuilt, the card room, in this case, was purchased by another owner that, has been maximizing the revenues there in the time that they've been there, in some part to the council's support of the work that they're doing over there, and increase the fund balance again so that the city could have a brand new aquatic center and not have to issue any debt. There won't be somebody 20 years from now looking at the 2026 aquatic bond payments that cost an extra, instead of 15 million cash, they cost $28 million because you borrowed the money. That won't be there, and the city's fund balance is still above the generally accepted minimums. But it's also something that when you start dipping into, you want to start concerning yourself with. So on the revenue side of things, how this been navigated, and these are all through council direction. Nothing would be where it is without the council's direction over that time period there. Has really been an effort to diversify revenue through a few different means, whether that's through tax measures, looking at costs of service to see if the charges for those services need to be higher than what they previously were. And then looking at new revenue sources such as retail cannabis. So those are all things to support the card room in its revenue growth, save up some fund balance to pay for things, and then also generate new revenue. But obviously there are limitations to generating new revenue. There are caps on what you can do with sales tax, and the council has been amenable to look at all of those things in the time that I've been here. And I think that's why you see the fund balance where it's at. And then as far as the card room goes, there's still an upward trend from 2 years ago while they're doing a bunch of construction there. And I just speaking on behalf of the card room, in what I see, not is what they say, but what you can see is that they are still committing to additional capital improvements. I know Manny Acosta was over there on some more work that they're doing to improve the aesthetics of the parking lot. Just on the surface, it appears that they're building and spending money for the future, so that regardless of what happens with the Attorney General rules, they're a premier place for people to still do what you do at a card room, even if it's different than what it is today. So that's, I think, how we've got to where we're at and how things are currently looking. There's obviously challenges, but the fund balance presents a lot of opportunity to give time to make balanced and measured decisions for the council over the next 12 to 36 months.
Thanks so much for the snapshot of that climate, right? When it comes to revenue. I will now open up the the floor for any questions or comments on behalf of council.
Thank you, Mayor. For clarification, the amount that was mentioned, that was factored in from the potential sales increase, which was about 900,000, those numbers are reflected on the 3.1 million deficit, or is it reflected elsewhere?
It's reflected on the deficit. I wonder, Manuel, if you could scoot back to your revenue slide here. So Councilmember Barson, about 8 rows down, there's a line that says additional sales tax 0.25%. That's included in our revenues. So if that sales tax measure were not to pass, the deficit would go from 3.6 to about 4.5 million. So it is a more positive reflection here on the revenue side of it, with the the assumption that it will pass. And why is that assumption there? It's just based on historic data here in the city of Bell Gardens.
That's the predicted number at the closing of the fiscal year.
Yes, that's what we would anticipate receiving in fiscal year 26-27. Just because if it got passed by the voters, it doesn't actually start to be collected till October 1st, just by law. The following fiscal year, so fiscal year 27-28, if it were to pass, it would be a positive increase of about 1.3 million. So there is a positive increase there for the out year.
Thank you for that. And another question. So I heard you mention briefly that the change after the regulations, if the regulations were to take effect, the Attorney General's regulations, that the impact will be about $12.4 million.
Councilmember Barson, it would be about 4 to 7 million. Sorry. So if we already have a deficit of 3.6 million, if those AG rules were going to affect kind of even if we use the lower side, that'd be another 4 million. So we'd be at about a $7.6 million deficit.
And those numbers, how do we come up with those numbers?
Based on the rules, the Attorney General's rules are twofold. One of them is challenging the actual games that are being played, saying that certain games should not be played at the card room, and those, I believe, are generally very profitable games that the card room would not be allowed to have people play, which could potentially drive away business. People might potentially go to tribal card rooms or casinos instead. And the second part is the way in which the games are played. The argument from the card rooms is that it unnecessarily will slow down the play and change the nature of the play and how the games are banked. So when we're all sitting around a table playing cards at the card room, how they decide who's going to bank that game, it would slow it down and sort of slow the action down too. With card room, it's kind of the energy and why people are going there for entertainment. And it would be like if all you have is commercials and no football game, or too many commercials where you might just shut it off. That's the concern on phase 2. So when they run those calculations, they can see that if those certain games were at risk and were gone, and hopefully some people would move over to other games, but then secondarily, what does it do to the games that remain, this slow down process or more burdensome process? And the estimation for Bell Gardens is right in that $4 to $7 million range. It's like about 35% estimate of what it would do as far as reducing the revenues that would be generated from card room.
5% of our revenue. So
yeah.
So that means that that's the official number that we're running with, like 4 to 7 million.
Yes.
Okay. And then if the tax measure doesn't pass, that puts us down another million. So it could be up to $8 million. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for the clarification.
At that point, going with that, I know this was mentioned already, looking at the overall budget, at that point, we would have to decide what services we're going to start eliminating versus continuing, right? If we're at roughly an $8 million deficit.
Yes, Councilmember. So really what you would do is look to see, these are general funds. So there are positions and services that the city provides that have a direct source of funding. So I will call out the item right below the additional sales tax line. It's rental registry fees. So the rental registry fees, which have increased up to almost exactly what we initially projected about 4 years ago when the rent stabilization ordinance was put into effect, have actually materialized. And those fees are specifically there to provide services for the housing division or the housing department. So if you were to cut the housing department, you've lost the justification to charge the fee. So those would be the decisions where you would have to look to see what are the services provided and are they general fund paid for 100%? And those would be ones you would want to look at the hardest. And then are they 80% general fund or 50%? At some point, if something's 10% general funded and the council would see that that's an important service, cutting it is only saving you 10 cents on the dollar. So you'd really have to look at the general funded positions. And this is something I think from a staff perspective that, these are scary things to talk about out loud, but also at the same time, those are usually the things that you would want to be prepared for behind the scenes. And so it's pretty easy to identify where our general fund expenditures go. They're going to be the things that are funded generally by the property tax, by sales tax, by the motor vehicle in lieu revenues, by interest income, utility franchises, parking lot rental, card club tax, the ground lease for the hotel and marketplace. And there are no services that the city currently provides that the council will be excited about not continuing to provide, is the bottom line with it, and would be difficult. So, but again, that's also where the fund balance comes in. So having a fund balance that as of June 30th is projected to be in the $23 million range, with 17 million of it being in cash. If you look at it from an extreme perspective and say, well, if you have an $8 million deficit all of a sudden, you wouldn't want to not do things. But if you didn't, you wouldn't want to do that. But if you didn't, you would still have about $9 or $10 million left in general fund balance. Obviously, the sooner you would get ahead of it would be the better. So there's still that fund balance there that again provides the cushion there. So I think the alarm there is what would be warranted, but then also understanding that there's a significant amount of time that you have bought to to be able to make adjustments.
And also, I wanted to know what would you say is the average ideal number to have on the fund balance? Because I'm hearing that we have a very healthy fund balance.
So, Councilor, just the general idea out there is to have approximately 20%, which is about $10 million. But I would caution that is the next sentence. If you look at sort of Government Finance Officer Association recommendations and what's generally accepted out there, even from people that would be looking at bond ratings and things. So people that have the business of understanding how viable a government is or financially healthy would say that's okay if you don't have any major single source of revenue that can elevate or decrease. So if you're a city that's revenues, there are cities out there that revenues are really 90%, 80% of them are property tax, sales tax. There are neighboring cities with similar names such as ours that operate very, very moderately and kind of flat because there are not large one-time revenues that come and go. So a $10 million would be considered about right if Bell Gardens was a city without a single source of revenue that can go up and down. If it goes up and down, generally what the recommendation there is, well, base anything over in our case, $10 million based on how much can it go up and down. So I think in this case, they say diligence is the mother of good luck. So I think with the decisions that the council's made, there's an extra 7.7 million there, which happens to start to sound similar to what our worst case scenario looks like, which would be the AG rules go into effect and we already have a $3.6 million deficit, happens to exactly equal about $7.7 million. So I don't think that's accidental. I think that's from the decisions that the councils have made I hope that answers it. So 10% is a bare minimum, and I think right about where we're at is where you would want to be considering the revenue balance that the city of Bell Gardens has.
Thank you so much for this discussion, and thank you, Manuel, for the incredible presentation. Also, City Manager O'Kelly for your insight. I have a couple of questions, and since we're already right here on. Oh wait, if we can go to maybe the first slide where it had showed, where it was sort of the intro, right here with the budget overview slide. There you go. So I wanted to mention. So just to begin. I think towards the end of last year, when we were at the budget time, we had projected that we were going to have a deficit of 1.97. And, now we're here and now we're projecting that we're going to have, for next year's budget, we're going to have a 3.6 million. Do we have, can we explain why, aside from just the labor agreements that I know are part of that, but, we're almost doubling the deficit. And I'm kind of curious, if we could explain a little bit more on that.
Sure. And Manuel, I think probably on your expenditure chart is probably the best place to kind of start. But the big ticket numbers there are we've got a full year of aquatic center, whereas we budgeted about 7 months worth of aquatic center charges for FY 25-26, where 26-27 we have a full year budgeted. Transfer to other funds. So we've seen significant increases in our JPIA, which is our risk pool. I think this year it's another $500,000 that those are somewhat extraordinary increases I've not expected. I think we're 900,000 2 years prior. The cost for retiree healthcare is another 350,000. And then if you can go to the revenue side of it. So really there's always two sides of deficit. If your expenditures go up, your deficit goes up. If your revenue goes down, your deficit goes up also. So you have less money coming in or more money going out. And one of the items would be on the transfers in. Manuel, I'm trying to look to see where our transfers in are here. So our transfers in at any rate, I'm sorry. Oh, operating transfers in. So it's like the 6th line down. The 2.9 million, we've budgeted that down. So based on the estimates that we had on retail cannabis, was that there was going to be 6 locations open that were paying $100,000 a year, plus would be up and running on the low side of what you would expect retail cannabis to do with the 7% community benefit. And they have not opened in any rate as fast as what was expected, for a number of different reasons. We have one operating now, a second one that could be operating here shortly, but is not. So we've reduced that revenue down significantly. There's almost $1 million there from that transfer. So there's some positive potential there, but the speed at which it's going, and if you look at some of the construction and that on the other ones, it does not seem like it's going to materialize as fast as what I'd hope, just due to significant market conditions, it appears to be. So really, I would say we've got a reduction in revenue about $1 million on operating transfers in. From a budget to budget perspective, the card room revenues, we're just budgeting at what we can justify. If we were to budget, even if we think it's going to go back to 19, we don't have the justification to support that. So that's a number we look at daily. Manuel will send me a text message at midnight if we get the April numbers in today. So, and then the JPIA, about $500,000, about 350,000 for retiree medical costs. So these are some things that aren't really, we would normally not predict or project a $500,000 increase on the JPIA. So $2 million can pretty quickly go to another 1.7, exclusive of labor negotiation stuff.
Got it. Thank you so much for that explanation. So just to confirm, it seems that within this summary section, that operating transfers in was essentially the cannabis tax.
Yeah, that's almost exclusive. There's like a couple 100,000 of just transfers in from like gas tax and things like that.
Got it. Yeah, I was curious about that because I think nowhere in the budget did we mention cannabis at all. So I was kind of curious where that line item was or how much we actually got in terms of revenue for for our fiscal year. Okay. I wanted to go back to I think I know it was mentioned in the first section, but I'll go down to slide 13, which I think was in the expenditures. Next one, there you go. So I noticed that in the last point, I know we said vacancy savings rate, and I think in the first section, the first slide I had said that it had decreased 7.5%, right? I'm kind of curious if we can, I know for the last couple of years, we've always had vacancies, particularly within our police department. We've always been trying to recruit and through the academy, and then for whatever reason, folks fall out. So I'm kind of curious, I see that we have a section also in the presentation that shows, the full-time employees per department. And I know I see the community development has grown substantially. I noticed that actually in our police department, we actually don't have two other positions. So I'm kind of curious where the vacancy savings come from. Are we just not going to fill those positions? And if so, which department?
So the vacancy savings rate is really a budgeting tool to create more accurate budgets. So let's say if we just budgeted every position's full for the whole year, we know that that's not accurate because, I'll use an easy example. Well, I won't use a specific example, but somebody resigns, somebody fills in the spot, somebody fills in the spot behind the spot, and somewhere in there, there's a cost savings because there's usually a vacancy in there for some period of time, let's say 2 or 3 months or so. So generally what you'll see, I would say over the last 10 years in most government agencies, they will recognize that they're going to have a vacancy rate. They don't always try to manage to it, but you can generally look to see from previous years what was the vacancy rate, how many positions were open for some period of time. Even though you're trying to fill them, you just don't. So if we have a code enforcement officer resign, we open up a recruitment. The recruitment's open for 3 weeks, 4 weeks. We do interviews, we do reference checks, we make an offer, they give notice, they show up. You have a position there where if you've got a department of, let's just say it's of 8, one position is like 12.5% of the budget, and it was vacant for a quarter of the year. You just saved in that department 3.5% just from that one position. So if you think about, if you look around the city as you see people and we say, oh, this is this person's last day, there's people always kind of moving on in their career and that. So we're not leaving anything on the table. I would say on the vacancy rate, going any higher than we have it, which is at 7.5%, would probably not be realistic. I think we've maximized it as much as would actually be reasonable. Because what it's really doing is generating a cost savings. It's showing expenditures, and then you have a reduction of expenditures. It's like saying, we have a budget to spend 32.9 million on personnel services, but you're really going to spend 2.4 million less than that. So if we had full positions filled for the whole year, we would be over budget by $2.4 million. So once things get to the point where they are, those are things that we have to start managing a little bit closer. Hope that explains it. It's really, it's a budgeting tool to acknowledge that we don't have all the positions all the time filled.
Got it. Thank you for that explanation. I also wanted to bring up a point about, I think it was in the next slide after this, it was on personnel services. I noticed that there was a substantial decrease in overtime. And then can you explain a little bit further on that?
So the overtime budget, is generally driven, by the police department because they have sort of minimum service standards that they have to provide. And so every year, because we know that's a big dollar amount, we talk with the chief to see, can we bring that number down? And the chief, whether it's this chief, previous chiefs in other areas, will say, yeah, I can bring it down, but if we have people that are injured and off duty, or if we have some sort of an event or something like that, we can't just not provide the service. We're not allowed to. We're going to have to call people in. So, so our chief here, and I think most chiefs that I've ever dealt with, do a good job at trying to get to a number that's reasonably attainable, but they always will asterisk it with, if there's some civil unrest or something like that, we're gonna have to, that budget's not maybe gonna hold.
Thank you for that. Okay. I think I got a couple more questions, and I think I'll go with this one. It was pretty straightforward. I think Councilman Barcena mentioned it was in regards to the add-on sales tax. So I think, we had projected in, I think it was in the revenue section, there was two line items. One of them was sales tax. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? I know the additional sales tax, and that was 0.25. That's our Measure BG. But then there was another one that was Measure A add-on. My question was, are these two different line items? And I mean, I see that they are different, but if they're essentially the same category per se, why not just, I just was curious. I needed clarification on that. And I think.
Yeah, I think we keep them, I think we've kept them separate just because it's such a big deal to go to the voters and ask for additional revenue. But I think in probably in a lot of government agencies, you would just see sales and use tax would include the base 1% plus the 0.75 that was approved by the voters, especially if there's no end date to it, which there's not for Measure A. And also you would include the Measure BG, the additional sales tax. That's something that you could do. I think we've just kept it separate just for some extra clarity.
And Councilmember Chavez, if I may add, in terms of the way it's line item that way, that's the way it is reported by HDL. It's separated out according to essentially the purpose, right? So it is a distinct item within their report. So it's not lumped in, but it is a distinct item.
Eventually, I think, as next year or the year after that, I mean, I remember Measure A, we did that back in 2020. Is it always going to consistently come out, or is it not just going to be lumped into one just sales, one?
I mean, I think with what you're saying, council member, it would be easy to just say, let's just do a sales and use tax line that shows how much we get in sales and use tax. We could put a bracket that just says, includes A and BG.
Thanks. Since we're on this, I saw that one of the line items was hotel and marketplace ground lease. I think that caught my eye. I'm curious. I know that we lease some land to the casino for the parking lot, but I'm kind of curious about the hotel and the marketplace.
The hotel is for the Quality Inn. So the city owns the Quality Inn land. It's on I think it's a 75-year land lease. So otherwise somebody wouldn't spend the money to build a hotel. But they have to pay a ground lease for it. And then for the marketplace, the same thing. The city used to have, so that would be for we'll call it the Food for Less parking lot. And that property there. The city used to have a similar arrangement over on the Los Jardines side of it at some point, but sold the property for cash at that time instead of getting a sort of perpetual payment. I don't know exactly why all those decisions were made, 25 years ago, but the city definitely, receives the budgetary benefit of those decisions, at least for the hotel, marketplace, ground lease, and also the card room.
Is the Premier included in that?
No, the Premier's not on there.
Got it. I'm surprised. Thank you. Finally, I think I'm in my last 2 or 3. I know, can you expand a little bit on ROPS transfers out? I think that was something that was mentioned. I know it was in the categories with gas tax but I was trying to control F, trying to figure out what ROPS meant.
So that's basically just a wind down of the former redevelopment agency. And so there are still loan repayments, bond payments that have to be made. And so basically we receive revenue to make those loan repayments that comes from property taxes until those bonds are paid off. So back when redevelopment was here, the city through the redevelopment agency would issue bonds to potentially buy property, to then sell the property or develop it. And then the property tax goes up and the extra property tax revenue pays for the bond. And you just did a development with funding that wasn't otherwise there. And that's still just winding down. So really there's no net effect. If we have loan repayments at 1.126, we'll receive 1.126 in revenues to cover those loan repayments. So it's kind of a net wash on there. There's really no impact on the general fund on the deficit part of it.
Got it. Thank you. I noticed that when during the presentation we had talked about fund balance, and I think we had a 23 million fund balance, right? Really, it's 17 million because we can't touch the other 5. And I think essentially, and this is just to I'm going to assume that if we want to spend the other 5 million that we can't touch, we just have to pay off the fund, and then we can use the other 5 million.
Yeah, the other 5 million is really just an IOU. The majority of it's just an IOU from the water fund. The only way you would really have cash to spend would be to increase water rates by $5 million and require the ratepayers of the water fund to pay the general fund back.
Theoretically, can't we just use some of the 17 million to pay off the 5?
Well, no, because so this is really all the general fund. Really, the way this goes is like, if you think about it, if somebody says, what's the general fund worth as far as cash and what people owe it and should be paying back, you'd say it's 23.4 million. And then you say, but 5 million of it is owed by somebody else. So the accounting wise, you have to show as if you have it, but you don't have cash. You just have a receivable. So the only way, yeah, you wouldn't pay yourself off with your own money. It would have to come from outside of that pie that's there. It'd have to come from another pie, basically, which would be the water fund. Or, yeah, for practical purpose, a water fund, unless there was some wealthy individual that just wrote a check.
Got it. Yeah, no, and the way I understand it's just basically 2 separate accounts, and then on one hand you actually have, physical, real cash, and on the other hand you just owe 5 million, and theoretically I would just pay one fund with the other.
It's actually owed to the general fund. So it'd be more like if you said, look, I got $40, but really you got, or you said you have $23, and you dig out of your pocket and you really have 17, and somebody goes, well, where's the other 6? And you go, well, the mayor owes it to me, or somebody
Got it.
owes it to me. And you go, but he's good for it. I got $23. That's really what we're saying here is we have 23 million. The water fund is theoretically good for it on the 5.7. At some point or other, it will come through. I mean, at some point by law, it will have to come through one way or the other.
I was thinking more of like we could just bail the water fund out and pay that extra that's owed or something.
I guess the only way to really do that is you would have to, I don't know if you could even legally do it. You'd have to sort of erase the debt somehow, but it would be to the benefit of the group of people in the water system at the expense of the whole city. So you probably couldn't do it.
That made sense. All right, final question, and again, apologies for all these questions. I think I've heard a lot of discussion just because of the sales tax increase, and it's been definitely floating around, and we got election happening in 22 days, and obviously folks want to save money and everything's expensive. So I think for the final question, and I think it was discussed between Councilman Barcena and Councilwoman Dr. Marcelo Sanchez. What if the judge does not grant us the injunction? When do the rules go into effect?
So essentially, they have to submit the card rooms have to submit compliance plans to the Attorney General. I think that would have to be pretty immediate because initially there was like a 90-day period that's already
By
passed.
June 30th.
By June 30th, and then the AG has 90 to 120 days to say whether they comply or not. So in a perfect world, the AG would take the whole 90 or 120 days, but if they only took 8, then they could potentially go into effect that quick.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
I just want to make sure the council knows we're monitoring it. We know the exact date that the judge will be hearing it. The JPA is involved in it, and we understand that in the extreme circumstance, we'll have to make a very fast revision to the budget. Maybe the day of the budget workshop or somewhere in that time frame. And so, Manuel and staff are prepared to make those changes quickly, and then we would bring at least a very quick list of things for the council to consider to do in a 3 to 9 month period of time, which would be considered quick.
Thank you so much. Any other questions or comments? And if not, I would like to entertain a motion.
So
Second.
A motion and a second. Motion by Councilmember Chavez and second by Councilwoman Dr. De Leon Sanchez. City Clerk, may I have a roll call of the City Council?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Member of the Council on Successor Agency Barcina,
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez,
Aye.
Councilwoman Sanchez.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Guillen,
Yes.
and Mayor De La Rosa.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. And at this time, we'll implement a 15-minute recess. That was going to be a quick one. All right.
resumed.
Thank you, City Clerk. City Manager, will you please announce discussion item number 11.4?
Yes, thank you, Mayor De La Rosa. This item is a resolution approving an agreement with Kaboom for an installation of new play equipment at Marlow Park. Kaboom is who we coordinated the new playground equipment with at the Neighborhood Youth Center about 3 or 4 years ago. So with that, I'll turn it over to Liz Nava, our Recreation Community Services Director. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. O'Kelly. Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. I'll just give it a second to bring my item up. The item before you tonight is, as the City Manager said, a consideration of a resolution approving a community partner agreement with Kaboom for installation of new play equipment at Marlow Park. Just a quick background on Kaboom. Kaboom's a nonprofit organization that partners with local municipalities and other organizations to install new playgrounds in high-need communities. Kaboom awards grants based on community need and available funding. And in 2022, as some of you remember, and as the City Manager mentioned, we were awarded a grant and were able to install a brand new playground at the Neighborhood Youth Center. And for those of you who weren't there, these are just some pictures of what's called Build Day. So the way the grant works is Kaboom will find a funder to provide the funding for most of the playground equipment. And the playground is installed in one day by a group of volunteers and professionals. So this is what you see at the NYC. The Public Works team will clear the space and prepare the space for the installation of a new playground. And then it is delivered on a truck piece by piece and put together by professionals and staff and mostly volunteers. And as you can see, that small picture on the bottom right is on that same day, we had the playground completely installed, and that's what we're looking to do again at Marlow Park. In March of this year, staff reached out to Kaboom and submitted a grant application for Marlow Park. And this is to add a new playground that will enhance the current refurbishment project taking place at that park. As you might remember, the city received Measure A funds to refurbish Marlow Park, and we're currently working on Marlow Park right now. So the Measure A grant includes adding one piece to the current playground, but with Kaboom, we'll be able to replace the entire thing. If we do enter into agreement with Kaboom, the city would be required to sign a community partner agreement. And that's for the installation of a playground that we estimate would be about approximately $150,000. Of that, the city would just have to match $8,500. So that would be our required portion for this grant. We would be responsible for recruiting about 60 volunteers, and typically Kaboom would also provide volunteers through the funders of the grant. So if awarded a Kaboom grant, the city, as I said, is responsible for $8,500 plus the cost of surfacing. So the playgrounds that are installed by Kaboom come with wood chip surfacing, but that's not ADA compliant. And so we would be responsible for the pour in place. That amount would be determined upon the design of the playground. So Kaboom will come back out if we are awarded this grant, and they'll do some design work with the community. And once a design is set, then we can determine the cost of surfacing, and we'll come back to council at that time. So it is staff's recommendation that the City Council adopt the resolution approving a community partner agreement with Kaboom for a new playground at Marlow Park. And that concludes my report. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you so much. That's very exciting. Marlow Park is one of those pocket parks that needs that love, right? And it's exciting to see that it's gonna get that nice revamp, right? I do not have any questions at this time regarding this item, but I'll open it up to the council and see if there's any question or comment.
So really quick, just for clarification, we would be responsible for 8,500 and the ADA compliance, right?
For the
Additional-
surfacing, correct.
Surfacing,
Yes,
okay.
that's correct.
Question, is it the playground that's on the southeast side of the park that it's gonna be replaced, or is it a new one?
It's the current playground that would
Current
be
one?
replaced, correct?
Okay. Is there currently pouring plays there, or is there like rubber chips?
Is it rubber That's a great question, and we were just at that park, and I don't even remember off the top of my head what's there. Do you recall, Bernie? It's chips.
It might be older rubberized or in place. Last I recall, it's fenced up right now. It's been fenced up for a little while. But yeah, we definitely confirm.
Yeah, I apologize. Off the top of my head, for some reason, I can't remember.
No worries. I think it might be poured in place because, well, this leads me to my next question. That playground, I worked on getting the grant when I was an employee, but that was a while ago. It was like 2000, I don't know, like 15 or something. What is the life of these playgrounds? Usually the expectancy before they get replaced.
Typically, that's the lifespan. 15 to 20 years is the useful life before they need to be turned over.
Oh my God, 20 years. Crazy. All right, thank you.
Lastly, for the volunteer recruitment, how would you go on about that?
We would post on social media. We would reach out to our local stakeholders and groups and organizations within the city and offer it up to the community as well. High school students, our Girl Scouts, Vida Sana, any group that we have built in, we want to encourage everyone to come out. And we even have staff who are off duty that day that will come and volunteer. So we'll put it out to members of the community. Residents are welcome to come out as well. When we were in 2022 at the NYC, CarMax was the funder. And so CarMax had about 100 volunteers also that came out.
Thank you so much.
So would you do it on a day and time where those community organizations would be able to come out?
Yeah, that would be determined at a later date. A lot of it also has to do with Kaboom and Landscape Structures, who's the organization that provides the play equipment and the availability, but we will always try and do it on a day that most people would be available, usually like a weekend, or if a weekday would be required, we would let people know in advance.
Sounds fun. Manos a la obra, right, as they say. Any other questions or comments? In that case, I would like to entertain a motion for this item.
I'll move.
May I have a second?
Second.
City Clerk, will you please conduct a roll call?
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the Council and Successor Agency, Barcena,
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez,
Aye.
Councilwoman Sanchez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Guillen,
Yes.
and Mayor de la Rosa.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Moving on to the next item. City Manager, will you please announce the next discussion item?
Yes, thank you, Mayor De La Rosa. This next item is consideration of an approval of an agreement with Fireworks and Stage FX America for the Independence Day fireworks show. So I'll turn it over to Liz Nava, our Recreation Community Services Director. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. O'Kelly. Good evening again, Mayor, members of the City Council. This next item is consideration of a resolution approving a contract services agreement with Fireworks and Stage FX America for the Bell Gardens Independence Day Fireworks Show. Just as some background, the city is currently in the final year of its agreement with an organization called TLC Creative, who currently provides the multimedia and laser show for the Independence Day event. But on April 13th, Council directed staff to explore the possibility of hosting a fireworks show for this year's Independence Day celebration, and to also evaluate the options for either canceling or postponing the multimedia and laser show. So staff put out an RFP, request for proposals for a fireworks show on Thursday, July 2nd. We were very specific about that date. And the city received 2 proposals that were reviewed by staff, and staff used the criteria that was set forth in the RFP, which assessed the proposer's comprehension of the RFP, overall qualifications, total proposed cost, and the references that they provided. Staff also reached out to TLC Creative to inquire about the options for either canceling or postponing / rescheduling the multimedia show. And TLC provided us with 4 options. The first being to continue forward with the contracted laser show, which is $33,500. So basically, we would just host the laser show as we normally would. The second is to reschedule it to a future date, which would include an additional $2,500 on top of the $33,500 for a total of $36,000. The third option would to include a scaled down portion using only lasers and integrate it with the fireworks show if it's possible on the fireworks show side for a fee of $17,000. And then the final option would be if we wanted to cancel it altogether, we would pay a cancellation fee of $26,000. So after review of the RFPs and consideration of the options for the multimedia laser show, staff is recommending the following. Entering into a contract service agreement with Fireworks and Stage FX America for an Independence Day fireworks show on July 2nd. For 1 initial year term with the option of 2 one-year extensions at an annual not to exceed amount of $23,000, which if pushed out 3 years would be a not to exceed amount of $69,000 over the 3-year term. Also, staff recommends amending the agreement with TLC to reschedule the multimedia laser show to this year's Halloween event for a revised total of $36,000 to the TLC agreement. So the total fiscal impact to the city's general fund budget for fiscal year 26-27 is $59,000, which would include the $36,000 for the laser show and reschedule fee, plus the $23,000 for the fireworks show. And that concludes my report, and I'm available for any questions. And I'll go back here to the options just so council has that.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, my question would be, it was already budgeted for 33,500 for the laser show, so that's not adding to the budget, is it? Because
Correct. Yes, we're obligated for the 33,500, correct.
And then to reschedule, it's just gonna be that one-time fee of $2,500, so the totaling 36,000, and then we would be done with that contract.
Yes, that's correct.
And they've agreed to move it to our Halloween event.
Yes, I had a conversation with them about the option to move it, and they're open to moving it to our Halloween event.
There is quite a significant difference between the laser show and the fireworks show. Historically, how long has a laser show lasted? Like, how long is that function of the, or how long is that like performance per se? Yeah.
The laser show lasts approximately 15 minutes. So it's a multimedia and laser show. So in addition to lasers, there's an LED screen with visuals, there's music, there's smoke fog machines, and it's integrated with music. And so the entire show from start to finish is about the same length as a fireworks show would be, between 12 and 15 minutes, depending on how much we add on the front end with photos and images to the multimedia show.
Regarding the multimedia show, I've seen it evolve over the years, and this past year, they incorporated bracelets onto the show as well. And did that influence any of the price?
So they incorporated the bracelets 2 years ago, and it's within the increase. So every year the contract has increased with TLC. It was a projected increase when we signed the agreement. And so each year they add a component to it. And that was one of the components that they added to the laser multimedia show.
Thank you so much. Any other questions or comments?
For the fireworks show, are they going to be able to synchronize it with music as well?
Correct. That was part of the request on the RFP, or the requirements from the RFP, was that it had to be a choreographed and synchronized show with music.
Can you remind, are you good? How long the firework lasts? Please?
So the proposal that we received from FX America proposed a 16-minute fireworks show.
Okay, and the laser is?
About 12 to 15 minutes.
I have a quick question. Thank you so much for the presentation. I'm glad to see that this item came forward. I know the recommendation is fireworks and stage FX America. I know we received 2 proposals. I'm curious to hear about the other proposal as well. If there's, were they off by a lot? And if so, I mean, was it just a bottom line number? Curious.
The second proposal we received was from Pyro Spectacular, who also does local fireworks. They were approximately $4,000 more, so not a significant increase. However, their proposal that they submitted was not as responsive as FX America. They did not provide specific data that we requested. References from other organizations, acceptance of our city agreement. So there were a lot of missing components that would deem them a little less responsive than FX America.
Thank you so much for that.
I have a question. If we don't move the laser show to Halloween, it's a Halloween event, just basically the same as usual or in previous years without lasers or anything. There's nothing special additional planned for it, correct?
Correct. We did, due to the 4th of July event being canceled last year, we moved the laser show to Halloween, and we had great feedback and great success from that. That's part of the recommendation to move it. If council does not decide to postpone the laser show to Halloween, then the plan is to move forward with a Halloween event, as you've previously seen before last year's laser show.
Option 3 is pretty interesting. It states that it would be a scaled down portion of the multimedia laser show. And I'm assuming it's also going to be 15 minutes to accompany the fireworks show.
Correct. If it's possible, we would have to consult the FX America to see if that's something that they would accept as well. But we would require that the laser show be the same length as the fireworks show.
But to clarify, TLC didn't officially state whether that's a viable option, correct?
On TLC side, it's a viable option. We just have to confirm with FX America, the fireworks firm, that it would be something that they would synchronize with, or that the lasers would be able to synchronize with the fireworks show and the music, because the fireworks show is going to be synchronized to specific music. And so the laser show would have to synchronize with the fireworks show music for it to all kind of make sense. So we would just need to ensure on both parties that the coordination is viable.
But specifically, they didn't specify what would be the downscale. Like, I'm assuming it wouldn't be like no bracelets and all these other bells and whistles. I know it's more technical, so to pinpoint, right, what would be the difference of the definition of a downscale? I think there's still some information to be found.
Yes, it was a preliminary conversation, obviously based off of the direction of council, but essentially what I was told from TLC is that it would only be lasers. That would be the only thing we'd get. So the multimedia, the wristbands, any of the extra, we had a robot dog there, dancing robot dog on the stage. None of that would be included with this. It would solely be lasers. And they also had fog machines and different effects that they provided. So it would just be lasers.
Thank you so much for the info. Any other questions or comments? Personally, I think that it's a pretty good deal, 17,000 for a 15-minute show. Cost-wise, I think that's a pretty enticing option. But then again, we would have to ensure communication from both parties. I would like to see, what the sentiment is on that from council, or,
I'd like to make a motion to go with staff's recommendation.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. City Clerk, will you please conduct a roll call?
Yes, thank you. Members of the Council and Successor Agency, Barcena,
No.
Councilmember Chavez,
Aye.
Councilwoman Sanchez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Guillen,
Yes.
and Mayor De La Rosa.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-1.
Thank you, City Clerk. City Manager, will you please announce the next discussion item?
Thank you, Mayor De La Rosa. This item is one that was brought up 2 meetings ago regarding the fireworks enforcement by the police department. So I'll turn it over to Police Chief Camacho to provide a presentation. Thank you, Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem, and members of the City Council. Tonight's presentation is going to be brief. It's going to be regarding the City of Bell Gardens ordinance. Let me start off with the City of Bell Gardens fireworks ordinance. It's going to be discussion regarding dangerous fireworks and enforcement policy. So the background, the city maintains a strict prohibition on fireworks within city limits. Fireworks pose risk, including fires, injuries, property damage, and disruption to the community. Bell Gardens Municipal Code Chapter 16.40 prohibits possession, sale, use, and discharge of illegal fireworks. So the city currently has a zero tolerance enforcement policy, immediate enforcement action for fireworks that we go out and calls for service, and we issue administrative citations. One of the things that was asked, or the direction of council, was for me to look into other areas, or at least compare ourselves to other surrounding agencies as to what they were doing. And we did. We reached out to several of the surrounding agencies, and we learned that we're pretty much doing the same. One of the things that I did notice is that they're issuing more administrative citations, and I think that's the focus that we would like to change, or moving forward. I think the focus is going to be issuing administrative citations rather than the criminal citation that we were issuing. And the reason why that was a little bit of a challenge was because the DA needs an actual witness from an officer. In other words, it's a misdemeanor committed in the presence of an officer, you could issue the citation. But when you don't have that element, then you don't really have a case, or I should say you don't have a case, period. So that was really the big difference between other cities really going after the violations on an administrative process rather than in a criminal process. And that's really what I was trying to talk about. Criminal enforcement through the misdemeanor or felony filings were not applicable. Confiscation and seizure of all illegal fireworks. And so these are some of the things that we're currently doing, and really that's not going to change much. We're going to have the directed patrols in high complaint areas. In addition to the calls for service, We're going to continue with the deployment of specialized units during the peak periods, such as 4th of July, maybe a little bit undercover and other tactics that we could use. And I'm not going to disclose that, or else they wouldn't be, I'm just not going to disclose those tactics. And really working with the community by making sure that we get the message out and that they feel comfortable calling our 911 center or our dispatch center, and working with other neighboring agencies for mutual aid or maybe resources or bringing them to help us out. We have used the drone. The problem with our current drone is that it doesn't have the capability for the altitude that you need. Some of the fireworks that we have seen in the past is they're pretty powerful. Any of those drones could probably blow off any of our drones. So one of the things that we will continue doing is we will do the public outreach and education through our social media campaigns. Communicating this with the community through flyers, our neighborhood watch, collaborating and partnering up with our schools and Bell Gardens, and just really staying focused on the message of safety, legal consequences, and community responsibility. The fiscal impact, it does have one. Enforcement requires allocation of public safety resources. It costs to include overtime staffing and equipment. Administrative fines and cost recovery may partially offset the costs. And expansion of the drone technology would require additional financial analysis. So in conclusion, the Bell Gardens maintains a strict prohibition on fireworks. The city has zero tolerance, and we will continue the enforcement and the public education as pretty much getting the message out there. And the recommendation is that City Council receive and file this report pertaining to the city's enforcement policies related to the dangerous fireworks. And I'll take any questions.
Thank you for the insights, Chief. And I know there's strategies, right, that aren't necessarily allowed to be discussed in public due to the possibility of the impact of, this type of enforcement. When we brought this conversation forward, we noticed that on a report, there was a spike in calls for service regarding fireworks, right? And I'm glad to see that there's going to be, a constant enforcement to, take these through the administrative route, as you mentioned. And that's pleasing to hear, because there are fireworks that are literally like rockets. You see them go up with like flares, and then it's just a loud pop, which is, pretty concerning, considering there's a drastic difference between safe and sane fireworks and these other fireworks on the other end of the spectrum that are considered dangerous. So thank you so much, Chief. And I'll open up the floor for any questions or comments.
So when you're saying administrative citations, I know in the past when people have called, I have called, hey, there's somebody popping illegal fireworks, you can tell, right? And the response has been, well, we need to witness it in order to do something. So at this point, when it's administrative, even if there's not a witness, a police officer witnessing, what are going to be the consequences to that? Because I think that's like the number one thing that people complain about.
So when we did the research and in talking to other agencies, I think we learned a lot about the administrative process, something that we really haven't been doing here. And so I could give you an example from one city that in talking to the director of public safety, so they have, we'll just say, maybe a community service, type vehicle with 3 mounted cameras, and they drive down the street and they capture video, and then they go back and review some of the video, and they're able to determine where the location of the fireworks, where maybe it's in front of a house, and they see people coming in and out of the house, maybe a driveway. So then they draft the report and they attach all the evidence and they send it to that address. And one of the things that I was really shocked and surprised of, that when they were sending out the citation, that people were actually responding and were paying the fines. We're hoping that's going to happen here in Bell Gardens. That's one way that we're going to move forward and changing things up. And we're also going to be looking at other ways that we could probably work with, the community department, the community development department with Manny and his team. So we could draft something maybe that will allow us to have a little bit more teeth into the administrative process. But we got to try it in order to understand if it's going to work or not.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Just to add to that, so in the past, obviously the standard for a misdemeanor is much higher, because it goes to trial, right? It's a prosecution. With the administrative citation, there's a fine connected to it, so it's for possession or for someone that's allowing the firework. So we're looking at different tactics, but the fine is $1,000 for the first fine, and then it increments progressively. So it would be a monetary citation versus a criminal charge.
And it would be directly to the address, right?
Yes. Now, if we were to see a violation with the officer out there and they could see that this is the actual individual that is setting off the fireworks, then I think at that point we would have probably the option of going administrative, or we would be able to use the criminal citation. We probably would go criminal, to be honest with you, just because now you have an actual officer that has witnessed the actual, we'll say, crime or violation.
Thank you for that, Chief. I wanted to know if there's a way to team up with the city and maybe the social media to promote like a campaign to report when illegal fireworks are being used. I know that, everyone has a camera in their pocket nowadays, right? So are there going to be any efforts to encourage people to sort of provide the evidence that's needed to make sure that these processes are feasible? Just because if you guys just get a call and they're just saying, oh, it's this house, right? But they don't have any evidence, it's sort of like a waste of your time, and it's a waste of, can there be any type of like messaging that goes out, like help us make sure your quality of life is at least not, polluted by illegal fireworks?
Yeah, great question. So our social media team is currently working on putting something that is going to be part of the campaign. We're looking at what other cities are doing. So I think we're going to do a combination of flyers with actual videos. We did look at, I don't know how this would work, but it's almost like what the local media or channels, the news channels are using out there, where you actually capture something on your phone and then you send it to this link, and then now you have that footage and you have all the information. It's an address, it's a face of an individual, you have the act. So something like that could probably work for the administrative part of it.
I know on the app we're able to submit photos. Are we able to submit videos on the app to report it?
Hylas?
Yes.
Yes.
So would that be a way for us to report incidents with illegal fireworks?
Yes, so I think we could probably just add another category to the, as an option for people to report, and it could go directly routed to the police department.
That'd be great if we can look into it and get that feature to help the residents report and help PD identify.
Sorry. So those are all the things that we're bringing to the team, and those are all ideas. And I think this year is definitely going to be a lot better as far as the outreach and then the enforcement, because I think we have learned a lot from talking to other cities.
Just want to say thank you again for taking those steps of doing the research, providing an alternative way of approaching this issue. Part of the reason why I voted the way I voted on several items today was because this was sort of like an unresolved problem. And I mean, it still is, because we don't know what's going to happen, right? But I at least see the effort and the desire to make a difference. And I think that's really important. And I hope that residents are able to, even the ones that don't agree with the new changes, that they're able to see a difference in terms of decrease in illegal fireworks. So hopefully we can make that happen. But thank you, Chief. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I mean, those are one of those things that, you know, when it's almost like that saying, if it's not broken, why fix it? So we were kind of stuck on that. And I think we learned a lot from reaching out to the other cities, and we're really surprised of how things are working for them. And so why reinvent the wheel when it's already there for you? So we're just gonna sort of copy what they're doing, taking the best of what we could work, what we would be able to use here and what's gonna work. And moving forward, we're hoping for a better outcome this year.
Chief, thank you so much for your presentation. I have a quick question, 2 or 3 quick questions. I know in the past, we've had obviously the ban on all types of fireworks. You know, you can't unsee the banner as you drive through Garfield, and obviously social media. I'm curious to know if by any chance we know how many citations of actual, you know, the ones where it was civil, that were actually given out within these last 6 years or so that we've had fireworks banned. And then a follow-up to that, how many of those actually got paid, or, you know, if there was any fees collected of that? Do we know?
Well, we never used the administrative process because we were so stuck in using the actual H&S and the penal code.
Got it. And there was no monetary attachment to that. It was more so just jail time. And
Yeah, for the penal code, the city prosecutor would normally go in there and will work with the DA, and then at the end, whether it's going to be a fine through the courts or it's going to be an actual fine that the city's requesting. But we never heard anything back from. So there was no follow up on our end and also on the city prosecutor's side.
got it. Thank you for that. I think Councilwoman Dr. Vanzalone Sanchez touched on it, but you know, what's the process like? You know, and believe me, I'm pretty sure we all have got it resident. Some of us maybe have even called about the fireworks that are happening. And as we approach July 4th, which is only 2 months away, we're probably going to start hearing it a lot more. You know, what's going to be the process for us to report the fireworks, or the illegal ones at least, right? You can obviously see them, but you know, let's just say it's late towards the evening, I'm obviously in bed and I get woken up by one, and I want to report it, or maybe I hear multiple or 2 or 3. You know, do I just call 911? Do I tell the folks to call the non-emergency line? Usually I do the non-emergency line, and it's been pretty effective, but you know, I'm curious what's the best process to report something like this?
So for now, I could say that we're going to continue with, if the resident hears or sees, they could go either way. They could go through the 911. Highly recommend that they use the business line instead. And we would go out there, we would make an assessment. Hopefully we have somebody that could guide us there, or we as officers see it with our own eyes. Or now we could actually maybe look into other areas. Maybe somebody has a Ring camera, maybe someone has a camera, and now we could actually pinpoint to the location where the individuals came from or went to. And so that would be a beginning. And every scenario is different, so there is going to be a set of procedures that are going to be set by the new process and the new guidelines that we're going to use, and I'll be able to share that with you guys. But for right now, that's just more or less what we're going to be doing.
Sounds good. I know Mayor Pro Tem Guillen asked the question about who actually gets the fine, right? And I wanted to further, you know, get on that a little bit more. Is it the landlord who gets the fine, or is it the renter if they happen to be a tenant there that lives there?
So we're going to go with the landlord, because the landlord could then deal with the tenant.
Okay, got it. I had one final question, but I didn't write it down. Darn it. That if it comes back, I'll make sure to ask it. But yeah, it's not coming back. I'll write it down as soon as it comes back.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Chief. And this is in a way in regards to noise pollution and complaints. It's pretty reminiscent of a conversation we had in the past regarding loud music, parties, and I think you know, it's something we can possibly implement in other sectors, right? Such as with parties and noise complaints, attach the citation to the property rather than an individual. But pretty insightful conversations, Chief, and thank you so much.
Sure, no problem.
Thank you.
Mayor, my thought came back. Sorry about that.
Yes.
And it's a really great concept. I like this idea. I like the idea of doing the reporting through the app and the video and stuff. So similar concept. And in fact, I got this from New York City, where they have a bunch of, obviously they have very strict rules about parking and, cars park and they block the lanes and stuff. Even now, I think Metro is using some sort of camera system where, if a car happens to be in the bus lane, they'll take a picture, they'll send a license, So the idea that they're doing now is for everybody who reports, someone, parking illegally, or in this case, the fireworks, that the person who's reporting gets a percentage of the ticket or gets a percentage, they get compensated to sort of incentivize to be the eyes, right? And it kind of puts everybody like on edge or alert and say like, oh, I'm not trying to, but if you do, you also get a, reward a percent of whatever the fine is if they actually go and pay it. Just the concept, I think it'd be great. I would like to see that. I don't know if we can implement it, but just a thought. People are getting percentage to snitch,
We're excluding council members, right?
Hey, Hydas is gonna say you have the highest report. Hey, don't let me catch the mattress somewhere out there, on the tree. I already know the hot spots where they drop off all the stuff. My route, for some reason, I feel like they just wait for me to report it. They're like, oh, Councilmember Chavez is gonna report it. Pero yeah, that's just an idea. Don't worry, we will not be a part of it. We will obviously be. No, I'm not trying.
That's one of the best ideas I ever heard from him. I'm just gonna say.
What was? Check it out. It's a pilot program. They did it in New York, and I liked it. I thought it was a cool thing. But I mean, we could implement it as something like this. And no, I do not want to get. None of us want to get compensated for reporting of a illegal firework or something. Thank you.
The side note.
Chief's trying to keep all this.
Any other questions?
I think we're all clear, Chief. Would like to entertain a motion.
Move to receive and file.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. City Clerk, will you please conduct a roll call vote?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Members of the Council and Successor Agency, Barcena,
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez, Councilwoman Sanchez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Guillen,
Yes.
and Mayor de la Rosa.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, City Clerk. We will now move over to City Council member comments. We'll go ahead and start with the order that's provided on the script.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to say thank you to my colleagues, especially the ones that showed up to the event Aire de Mis Pulmones, which was an environmental justice event. We had about 80 people show up. Thank you to the Recreation and Community Services Department. The aquatics team was out there lending a hand, and it was a very successful event. It was very nice, so I appreciate that. I wanted to follow up on the Dreamers Aquatics Center naming and just when we're gonna be, hopefully before our city manager takes off, because it'd be nice if he could be there, but just want to throw it out there as a reminder. And for the conference coming up, I understand one of the council members might not be able to make it, and I wanted to ask, and you guys can get back to me on this, if there will be like a loss to the city or if I can actually sub them out, because I might be able to go if it's available. So
We've been able to do that for conferences before, so I can talk with Veronica. to see
okay,
if
awesome.
we
Yeah,
can-
I know Veronica's probably gonna not be around for a few days, but
Jen
you
can
know,
help out.
okay, I'd be interested in that.
Okay.
If that's an option. Thank you. And other than that, thank you, everyone. I appreciate the council's decisions on all these difficult issues. And I do want to say that I'm excited about the Halloween event, even though my vote, it was hard to reconcile that vote, but definitely that event was amazing. And I'm glad that we're actually going to be able to do it again. So thank you.
As for my comments, first and foremost, thank you for the incredible and productive meeting. This is obviously one of the lengthier ones. We topped it up. We began with a long closed session, and now we're here. And I do have a couple of points that I want to make, and I'll begin by just saying that we had a great student leadership day. We really, really appreciate it. I know that Councilmember Barcena, Councilwoman Dr. Franzelon Sanchez was there, Mayor de la Rosa, myself, and it was very productive with the kids there, and seeing them play the part and be council members for a day, be the mayor for the day. It was a great experience. One thing I shared was that at the time when I did Student Government Day, I got to serve as one of the council members, and fast forward, I kind of, I don't want to say I foreshadowed it, but and then I got to serve alongside one of the council members that I shadowed, which was at the time Councilwoman Maria Pulido. So again, incredible event, and thank you to Bell Gardens High School for collaborating, and also the luncheon was also great at the Commerce Casino. For our police department, we had a great taco with the cop on Cinco de Mayo. It was very, very well attended. Neighborhood Watch was there present as well. Just great to see our men and women of the Bell Gardens Police Department. In fact, there was actually a chase that was happening simultaneously while we were out there. And, it was East LA who called in for support. They drove through our city. They ended up in Southgate. And of course, they had to call as the chief would say, the big boys to take care of the job, right? The big boys and girls of the Bell Gardens Police Department. So again, thank you for an incredible event, and to all the men and women who serve our residents and also the Southeast as well. I also want to mention, I got to attend the fair. In fact, I still think I have my ticket from the fair here in the back of my phone. I had a great time. I went live twice from two of the rides. I went to one, it was like the Supreme Scream one so I got on that one. It was a different perspective to see Bell Gardens from up there. And then I also got on the Twister. It kind of just throws you around back and forth. It was really fun. I went live on that one too. And then I invited everybody to come out and join us at the event. And then I also got on the Ferris wheel, and that was fun too.
You didn't invite me.
I was live. Maybe you didn't hear the audio because I was, but it was a great time. I love when the fair comes. That's probably one of my biggest memories growing up here in Bell Gardens, going to the fair back when it used to be a Veterans Park. I'll tell you that it was definitely, it hit me a little bit when I was getting on some of the rides, because it was like a bunch of middle schoolers, and I'm just there like trying to get on this ride. And anyways, but overall, like I did meet the height requirement, which was great. But I had a good time. And I'll tell you, after that third ride, I kind of got a headache, and I said, yeah, I can't. I think I'm getting too old for this. But I love it. I got that inner child in me. Finally, I just want to say, happy Mother's Day, happy belated Mother's Day to all the mothers who serve. Obviously, here are employees, but at the same time, in your prospective families, know that you are all, loved, and we really appreciate all you do for our community. So with that said, again, happy belated Mother's Day to everybody. Thank you so much.
So I know there's a lot of questions regarding Measure BG, so I'm just going to go over a few information. What is it? Measure BG is a transaction and use tax. It is a 1/4-cent sales tax in the city of Bell Gardens that will appear on the June 2nd, 2026 special election. Why are we doing this now? Park West Bicycle Casino provides 40% of city revenue. A state ruling may cut it by up to 30%. On February 23rd, 2026, the Bell Gardens City Council unanimously declared a physical emergency. Operating costs are increasing, and our current 5-year budget forecasts reveals budget deficits. What does this mean? Residents rely on city funding for service like police, parks, and street repairs in the city of Bell Gardens. Most sales tax goes to the state of California and the Los Angeles County, not the city. Revenue loss from Park West Bicycle Casino could reduce services. Where are the funds going? Bell Gardens has a 10.5% sales tax, with only 1.75% staying within the city for residents. There is a possibility that the state or county will seek a sales tax increase so that Bell Gardens will lose that revenue opportunity with the state cap at 2%. Tax proceeds support police, public safety, streets repairs, parks, recreation, and daily city operations. Why does it matter? It could generate approximately 1.2 million annually, keep funding local and under city control. They help stabilize services impacted by potential revenue loss. If passed, Measure BG will take into effect October 2026. For more information on Measure BG, please visit www.bellgardens.org/Measure BG. And now, I want to take a moment to sincerely thank our city manager for his service to the city of Bell Gardens. Since this is your officially last meeting, I know we have the special meeting, but your last city council meeting. The work is not always easy. It comes with long days, difficult decisions, and moments that often happen behind the scenes without recognition. But through it all, you have given your time, your energy, your commitment to helping move Bell Gardens forward. I am grateful for the work you have done, the support you have provided, the care you have shown for our city, our staff, and our community. Your efforts have made a meaningful impact, and that is something we will always honor. As this is your last city council meeting with us, I want to wish you nothing but the best in your next chapter. Thank you for your service, your dedication, and all the contributions that you have made to Bell Gardens. I really appreciate it.
You're trying to, what do the kids say? Clock it? There you go.
I don't even know you guys. And honestly, thank you to my colleagues and to the staff. I know that this might be a transition moving forward, but just know that I'm here to support in any way possible. So thank you so much to everybody.
So thank you, staff, colleagues. Hope everyone had an amazing Mother's Day and you celebrated your mothers. And Mike, thank you. I know we still have some time, but for what it's worth, I know you deal with so many different personalities. We've had our share as well, but I truly appreciate you, all the work you've given to our home. I know it's become your second home. You spend probably here more time than at home. So I hope you get to enjoy your family and your loved ones, and you'll be missed. So thank you.
It's been a long and productive meeting, and I just want to thank our legal team, fellow council members, city staff, all the departments, and from the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much, Mike, Mr. O'Kelly, city manager. Thank you for your leadership. It's been pivotal in the recent years for the city of Bell Gardens, and your knowledge in finance and all these interesting analogies, always help you decipher, right, and digest the information that's always given. You're such a wise individual and highly admirable, and thank you so much, Mike. Onboarding as a fresh council member, you played a major role in getting me up to speed and seeing how this machine works, right? And I'll use an analogy, right? It's like like an engine, right? And it's you're pretty much a CPU, right? And controlling all managing the day-to-day, right? And making sure that all the cylinders are firing appropriately at the right level. And thank you so much, Mike. We'll continue to stay in touch, and appreciate you very much, very much. So we wish you nothing but the best for this next chapter, and we'll always appreciate you. Thank you so much, Mike. And if there's no objection,
I'm sorry.
Oh yes, of course.
I don't know. I kind of have to say some words now because I was caught off guard. I don't know. But Mike, I really, really wish you weren't leaving. Really appreciate all of the work that we did here in the city of Bell Gardens. It's going to be really hard to find another skater to fill in the position that also raps, that goes to concerts and like all that cool stuff, right? Not to mention, of course, the being good with numbers and accounting and just, you know, trying their best. I feel like that's what you did here. I have seen you under a lot of stress. I've seen you perform and overcome so many issues, so many challenges. So yeah, it's gonna be difficult, but I'm happy that you're now taking some decisions that are gonna benefit you in the long term with your personal life. And you'll always have a home here in Bell Gardens. You got the skate park. Let me know when you want to skate. But yeah, Mike, thank you so much, and we'll miss you here. And you're still stuck here for a few more weeks, so don't leave early. But yeah, thank you.
Mayor, if I may, I'm also going to jump in. I'll jump in with Councilman Barson on this. It hadn't hit me really that this was it, and believe me, I think we've had our fair share of conversations, Mike and I, and we had different visions, especially me coming in and being sort of this radical who was like very extreme and didn't really understand the whole process of how the city worked. And I'll tell you, Mike was always there, very patient. And he I feel like at times, he understood where I was coming from, and he allowed me to sort of take time and say, like, eventually you'll understand, right? And I mean, I was still in school when I started, and he's been patient, he's helped me out, and it's sad to see that now, Bell Gardens is gonna take a loss, and we're not gonna have you here. One of the charts that I remember, I was scrolling through LinkedIn, and it came out that top 10 cities with the longest serving city manager, right? And Mike was up there, as in, he was like number 10 as far as how consistent, and it shows that there's stability. It shows that there's steadiness in a city. It shows that it's heading in the right direction. The projects, I mean, we can go on and on. Everything from the thing that I disagreed about, cannabis, to the opening of the aquatic center, to creating rent stabilization in the housing department, to I mean, we can go on and on. I mean, that's something that's happened under your leadership. You've had an incredible team, directors come and go, various directors come and go, and you've sort of still been able to hold the team and head everybody in the right direction. So, I mean, COVID, the biggest one, right? I mean, you were there, you were taking those calls when we had to, when you guys had to log in or go join the live streams and the highlights. I remember he was part of that too, where you guys had to just do this virtual call with LA County and suing the county because they weren't allowing us to open the card room, and so on and so forth. So, or about the hotel thing that they try to do. So, I mean, it's been a lot. It's crazy to think that it's been 6 years since then. And I just want to say thank you for all your time, the time that you spent with us. I'd say, and I tell that to all employees, a lot of you spend more time with us than you do with your own families, right? And believe me, that does not go unnoticed. We really, really appreciate all the work that you do. Not for us, but for the residents of Bell Gardens, right? You spend more times here in this city than you do in your own city, right? And again, I've always loved that Mike has always been a family man, that you got your wife, you got your kids, and you look after them, and I really value that. I think that's something that's very, very important. And right now, as you're transitioning, I think that it's an important decision, and I respect that, and know that you have our full support no matter what. And I also want to say thank you for always making sure that the city was in a good position. Bell Gardens was never in a scandal. Bell Gardens was never on the news for something bad. Bell Gardens was never, and that was all. It always starts from the top in leadership. And Mike was always making sure to be careful about the optics. And even when we had some sort of disagreements, always making sure that when they asked for a statement, it was very polished. It was very, very clean. And I think that's something very important that as a city, we're always looking out for. And I'll at the end, at the same time, you have to balance all of our personalities. I know I mentioned directors, but I mean, not to mention council members, right? And so again, I just want to say thank you for always doing that. Thank you for your time, your patience with all of us, and we really appreciate it, and we wish you nothing but the best. So again, thank you.
Thank you so much again, Mr. O'Kelly, for your service to the city of Bell Gardens. So many speed bumps have been overcome, a lot of milestones achieved, and thanks to you. Thank you so much, Mike. With that said, if there's no objection by the members of the City Council, I will now adjourn the meeting of the City Council Successor Agency at 10:22 p.m.